All right, so the ultimate YouTube masterclass, 7 years of experience in less than 2 hours. I'm gonna try to get through it in about that time. It might go longer, it might be a little less, but that's what I'm aiming for. So why listen to me? That's a fair question. I've been doing YouTube for over 7 years and I have a proven track record. The main 2 channels that I had success with were PUBG TV, which got to around 3.1 million subscribers at one time, and then Top Royale, which went to about 137,000 subscribers. We had the most viewed Apex Legends video on YouTube until the Season 2 trailer for Apex Legends dropped. This channel is making about $30,000 a month at its peak. And then on the side, I've helped or built tons of other YouTube channels that haven't had quite as much success, but more success than most. So this is one of my personal channels, 9,000 subscribers, 3.8 million views. That's just one of my many channels. I've been helping people build YouTube channels, all that good stuff. So I know what I'm talking about. I've done over 500 million views, over $250,000 in revenue on AdSense. Now, one of the cool things you're going to get out of this video is a perspective from somebody who moved from YouTube into business. I'm also the co-founder of a 7-figure business that I started in 2019, and I have a unique perspective on why you should do YouTube, whether or not it's worth your time, and how to do it effectively. So being in business gives me a really unique perspective on the money side of YouTube. And I think in a lot of cases, it's actually really not worth your time. We'll get more into that later. All that to say is that my perspective will help you build a YouTube channel that actually generates long-term sustainable wealth. YouTube is insanely risky. There's so many things you have to watch out for that we'll talk about later in this video. And there's tons of mistakes I've made, like that Top Royale channel that I just showed on the previous slide. We got demonetized on that channel at the peak of our revenue. And there's so many things we could have done to avoid it, all that good stuff. So you're going to learn so much in this video from somebody who's actually done it before, and then my unique perspective on business is going to help you take your YouTube channel to the next level. So I've also made some huge mistakes, like I talked about. This video is for you if you've never made a YouTube video. This video is for you if you've made one YouTube video. It's for you if you've made hundreds of YouTube videos. You want to save thousands of hours of headache. You want to know the why, not just the how, okay? Because I really want you to understand why you do certain things, because that will give you a better understanding of YouTube, marketing, and business, and those skills will transfer way beyond YouTube, and that's what really matters here, okay? And then this video is for you if you want to make millions of dollars on YouTube, and it's also for you if you want to make YouTube videos just for fun. This video is not for you if you want to get rich quick scheme, you don't want to work hard, or you like children. We don't need more of those. All right, what you'll learn in this video, it's a lot. So real quickly, I'm going to go through the chapters. Number 1, should you do YouTube? Don't waste your time. Number 2, what should you make? How to pick a niche and why RPM doesn't matter much. Number 3, what makes a YouTube video successful? It's not luck. Number 4, winning YouTube strategies, how to approach YouTube depending on where you want to go. So in this section, we're going to basically talk about winning formulas that you can use to build your channel on top of. And then I'm also going to talk about the strategies you can use to monetize your YouTube off platform, which again, is how you build long-term sustainable wealth and you don't get wrecked by YouTube policy changes and on and on and on and on. Because a YouTube channel relying on AdSense isn't a business. It's glorified wage slavery. So number 5, how to get people to click on your video. No clicks equals no views. Number 6, how to get people to watch your video. How to keep your viewers hooked. Number 7, how to make more money with less views. The absolute importance of offsite monetization. So I'm going to dive even further into offsite monetization, the platforms you should use, the strategies, all that good stuff. Number 8, video editing crash course, what I wish I knew. So I'm not going to go into a lot of the technical details about video editing. If you've never picked up a video editing software, you can still learn a lot from this. And I actually wish somebody told me these things when I started video editing. Okay. So that's really cool. I'm going to focus a lot more on the high level things that I wish I knew that would have just saved me tons of time, tons of headache. And there's so much video editing stuff out there that is just fluff that you don't need to worry about. There's a few things that actually matter when it comes to video editing. And we're going to talk about that. Number 9, how to make and use YouTube Shorts. Number 10, understanding tags and description. And then 11, real world case studies. So we're going to look at real world studies from some of my channels, some other channels, and to talk about what went well and what I would do instead next time. Okay. Then final words of advice. So random piece of advice that I might have missed throughout the rest of the video. Like I said, I'm very ADHD. So there's some things that I thought of at the end. I was like, oh, these are like one-off random tips that didn't really go anywhere else. So I also want to mention that I do have coaching spots available. If you fill out the form in the description, you can get one-on-one coaching with me for your YouTube channel. I have limited spots and they're going for $1,250 a piece. Compared to other gurus and agencies and all that crap out there, that is ridiculously affordable. So you can fill out the form in the description to get more information on the program. This could be you. This is one person I've been working with over the past year. They've grown from basically nothing to 640,000 views, 6,000 subscribers, and $1,500 in revenue, and they're just getting started. So I did work with this person for free, so just keep that in mind. But you know, if this were you, you would make that money back within a year. All right, that's enough self-promotion. For the rest of the video, it's just going to be me providing some insane value. Okay, I'm going to kind of work my way down from big picture understanding of how YouTube works and whether or not you should do it, and then we'll drill down to specific strategies. Okay, I promise it's not all fluff. I'm not baiting you. We're going to get into really specific applicable stuff later on. Okay, so part number 1, should you do YouTube? So there are 2 main reasons that people tend to do YouTube. Okay. One of them is artistic and the other is monetary. So usually when I hear people talk about this, it boils down into one of these two categories. It's either artistic, so they want to express themselves, they want to tell stories, they want to create cool films, or it's monetary. I want to make money. I'm not saying one is worse than the other. It's just very important to be self-aware about what you're getting into. So the artistic reasons include they want to tell a story, they want to share their thoughts and opinions, they want to create an artistic video or film. Monetary reasons include they want to get rich. Okay, that's really the only monetary reason there is for doing YouTube. All right, so here's what you have to understand about YouTube. So most of this video is going to be focused on how to make money with YouTube, obviously. If you want to do it for fun, you can still take all these things and apply it to actually get your videos out there. You know, if you want to do it for fun, you really don't have to worry about all the strategy stuff and min-maxing and all that jazz, but there are some good things you could learn in here. So just want to throw that out there. So what you have to understand about YouTube is that there are much easier ways to make money, okay? The way that most people do YouTube is glorified wage slavery, like I mentioned earlier. To make a livable wage off of YouTube, you have to make millions of views per month if you're relying on AdSense. And I don't think people really understand what that means. Okay. You can get one video that gets millions of views, but being able to replicate that is absurdly hard. And for every channel you see out there that gets millions of views, every video is decently successful, there's 1,000 more that make one good video and never have another good video again. It's a different and much more unreliable form of wage slavery, okay? If you stop making videos, you stop earning money. That's just how it works. Your earning potential is directly tied to the amount of hours you work, and that's not a business. That's a job. What I will talk about, like I've said in the video, is how to transition a YouTube channel into a business. But I really want you to understand that if your only desire is to make money, there are easier ways to do that, okay? And then I also said fighting for table scraps. And what I mean by that is that advertisers have determined that it's worth paying YouTubers to put ads on their videos because getting traffic to their website is worth way more than what they pay YouTubers, okay? They have the real goods and services and products up here. You are just fighting for the table scraps that they are using to get you to their product or service. This is the big thing that actually starting a business opened my eyes to. Like my company, one page view on certain website pages is worth $8. $8 for one page view, okay? So compare that to YouTube where you are getting, on a good day, you'll get $5 per 1,000 views. You're just fighting for table scraps. So if you do want to make money, go start a business, okay? Be the guy who is paying for advertisements. Go be the business. It makes way more money. It's way more reliable. And in a lot of cases, it's honestly a lot less work, okay? Truth be told. So just throwing that out there. It's extremely unstable. Getting canceled is a risk, right? Like obviously Mr. Beast is doing fine after all the crap that's happened recently, and he'll probably continue to do fine. But YouTube brands are some of the only brands that are actually susceptible to having something come out and then getting their entire business and livelihood ruined overnight, okay? There's a reason that Hollywood and other businesses kind of frown on YouTubers is because it's like businesses understand all these things about marketing and economics and business and all that stuff that they've known for decades, okay? And they're making all this money up here, and YouTubers are way behind. They're way late to the party, okay? All these things we use to make YouTube channels successful and all that stuff, businesses have known this stuff for decades. YouTubers are late to the party, and they usually do almost everything worse than actual established businesses and stuff like that. To be clear, I'm not seeing the praises of big business. I feel like I'm in a weird spot personally where like I own a business, I love YouTube, but I'm also super anti-capitalistic, and I hate a lot of big corporations. But like I said, extremely unstable. Getting canceled is a risk. Trends are constantly changing, so you have to keep up with the trends, right? If you're not keeping up with the trends, you will die as a YouTuber. YouTuber changing their policies. That's what happened to us when we were making $30,000 a month on Top Royale. YouTube changed their policies overnight and retroactively demonetized us for something that wasn't even in effect when we were running our channel, okay? So, and I've seen this happen to countless people. People's livelihoods get just nuked overnight because they're at the mercy of YouTube. And hopefully in this video, I can show you how to do YouTube, which you enjoy, while also making a stable living, okay? So then advertisers control everything as well. So advertisers control the information of your viewers, right? They have the actual info. I guess Google does, but they're selling it to advertisers, but it's kind of the same thing. They control the whole ecosystem. So if advertisers decide to pull out for one reason or another, you're screwed. Advertisers also control the ecosystem in terms of how much money you make, okay? Because throughout the year, ad rates fluctuate. So like during the summer, most YouTubers make way less money. That's because people are out doing things. They're online way less. They're less likely to buy. So advertisers pay less for a view during the summer, whereas during the holidays, ad rates go way through the roof because people are, buying and all that stuff. So advertisers control everything. You have a serious lack of control. It's exhausting. It's a lot of work. It's kind of like gambling, but it's fun. Obviously, if it wasn't fun, I wouldn't be sitting here, talking about it. You wouldn't be here watching this video. So anyway, I just want to reiterate, there are much easier, safer, more sustainable ways to make money. That being said, my approach is safer, and that's what we're going to talk about later on in the video. I will teach you how to blow up a YouTube channel, but also how to transition that into real long-term sustainable wealth, okay? So part 2, how to pick a niche. The thing you need to keep in mind throughout this video that I'm going to talk about all the time is 1, your goal as a creator is to provide real value, and also that a niche is just an audience, okay? So you are making videos for actual human beings, actual people. You're not making videos for the algorithm. You're making videos for people. And your videos will do well if your target audience enjoys those videos or benefits from them in some way. This is something that a lot of people just don't understand. As simple as it sounds, okay? So just keep in mind, you are making videos for specific people, and your goal as a creator is to provide real value, okay? This needs to be, if you want to make money, this needs to be your number one, like, motivator. Like, you are providing real value to people on the other side of the screen, okay? You're not trying to use them for money. You are providing real value. So in order to figure out what niche you should actually make content in, you should ask yourself these questions, okay? Number 1, what am I good at? Number 2, what am I interested in? Number 3, what would other people who share my skills and interests find helpful, entertaining, or inspiring? I'm going through these things pretty quick, but I really encourage you to sit down and think about this, like mull it over, think about it extensively, okay? Don't just jump into something. And most importantly, what is your X factor? This is something a lot of people know intuitively, but they don't put a label on it, if that makes sense, and they don't put as much emphasis on it as they should. So your X factor is the thing that differentiates you from everybody else, and this is the key to your success on YouTube, okay? It doesn't matter if you enter a saturated niche. If you're creative enough, you can win in that niche, okay? You want some sort of X factor. So how do we figure out what our X factor is? Okay, you probably already know it. So have you already said things like, why don't people do X? It's funny how people don't know about X. The quality is X. The quality for X is really lacking. I could do better. If you've said things like this, then you probably have already identified your X factor, something you do that other people don't, or something you know that other people don't know about that would be really interesting or provide a lot of value that would really perform well on YouTube. So this a personal example for me. So I had played Dota for like 10 years. I'm not playing anymore. I actually quit recently, but I got to a pretty high level in the game, and I realized that there was a lack of quality, high level, very in-depth guides on Dota 2 heroes. Like there was generic stuff about like what do you build, and BSJ was probably the closest that it got to actually like deep stuff. But there was really a lack of like really in-depth analytical stuff that people don't think about while they're playing the game. So what I did, I made this guide, Master the Hardest Hero in Dota, and it absolutely blew up my channel. It got 33,000 views, 504 subscribers, $52 in revenue. But that was just the tip of the iceberg, because after I made that video, I started live streaming and my channel just blew up in no time flat. I had, within a week of publishing this video, I had 1,000 people watching my live stream on YouTube. I had people joining my coaching club who are paying me monthly to, get Dota coaching and all that stuff. And yeah, this is the perfect example of identifying an X factor. And I continue to make guides like this and stuff like that. So some examples of other people who have an X factor. This will kind of help you think of what your X factor might be. So the Russian Badger's X factor is motion capture, okay? His funny videos took the formula laid down by like Fitz and Soviet Womble and all that stuff, who had just like funny moments with funny text. And he took it to the next level with the animation and the mocap inside of his videos that just take it to a level that nobody's seen before. Nobody else does that, okay? That's the X factor. Forge Labs, okay? Sandiction. These guys expanded on existing Minecraft Let's Plays by honing in on more of the story. And we'll talk about more like specifically what strategies some of these guys use and stuff like that, but we're just talking more about that X factor, okay? They went into an existing niche, they innovated heavily, and they were rewarded handsomely for it, okay? The Last of Us Explained is a relatively small channel, but you got to keep in mind that whether or not a channel is big or small depends on the niche that they're in, okay? So 20,000 subscribers in the Last of Us niche is a very, very, very respectable channel size, and they've been blowing up. I was watching them when they were like 6,000. In a few months, they're at 18,000. They do really in-depth analysis on themes of The Last of Us. And the gal that makes these videos, I believe she's a writer herself. Yeah, game writer, not affiliated with Naughty Dog. So she's interested in writing. She's interested in characters. And she used that to bring it to a niche that was lacking that kind of in-depth analysis. So her skill set perfectly suited the niche that she went into, and she's getting rewarded for it, okay? So the X factor is where it's at. And the X factor paired with other strategies we'll talk about later in this video is the safest, most effective way to make a long-term career on YouTube. So there are lots of ways that you'll see about how to make money on YouTube. They seem like get rich quick. They seem super easy, whatever. And that will never be sustainable. The only thing that's sustainable is providing people real value, okay? At the end of the day, you have to be good at something to make it on YouTube. You have to be good at something, or you have to have really good knowledge of something. You have to have some sort of skill that you can translate into YouTube, okay? And we'll continue talking about this throughout the video, but the ideal niche is what you love, what you're good at, and what people want to watch. Boom. That's the content you want to make. And it's okay to sit and think about this for a while. This is not something you want to rush, but this is kind of your ideal pairing, okay? And then saturation is a myth, sorta. So more saturated niches are more competitive, hard to break into, require more creative ideas to stand out, etc. They also require a higher click-through rate and average view duration to succeed, which we'll talk about later. However, entering a saturated niche isn't a bad thing. If you can find a way to stand out from the rest, you can still make it big. Also, don't worry about entering small niches. Small niches are actually untapped gold mines because the audience in smaller niches are more loyal and engaged. It means they're more likely to watch your videos over and over, and they're also more likely to give you money for your product or service or your Patreon or something like that that you're doing to monetize your audience off platform. Okay, so do not run away from small niches. My Dota channel was a small niche, but I was making more money than people with YouTube channels that were literally 100 times my size. The reason being is because I made quality videos, I had a monthly coaching thing, and then my videos would also send me coaching students, and I was charging $50 an hour to do coaching. So my effective RPMs were through the roof because I was monetizing this audience and this skill off platform. My effective RPMs were just wild. And I was making more money from a tiny ass channel than people who are, 5, 10, 20, 100 times bigger than my channel make sometimes. So very cool. So in summary, saturation is the myth. Just get creative. And 2, small niches are untapped gold mines. Okay. So part 3, what makes a video succeed? So there's a lot of factors. We'll go through this quick, but it's important. And again, you're always thinking about the audience. So how the algorithm works is once you post a video, it sends it to a test audience. This is a very small group of people. So it sends out what are called impressions. An impression is just when a video shows up in somebody's recommended or on their browse page or wherever. That counts as an impression. Now, during this early testing phase, it's going out to a very small group of people, and YouTube is measuring your video to see how it stacks up against other videos in your niche, okay? If this test audience responds well, then it pushes it to another audience. If that audience responds well, you have a banger. And usually how this works, you'll see this happening all the time with small YouTube channels. It happens with my small channels that I haven't totally optimized yet. So if you get past this phase, if you make it past this phase here, oftentimes what you'll see is you'll get anywhere from 2 to 10,000 views or something like that. Okay. So a decent amount, but not like anything crazy. And then once you get past this phase, YouTube has determined that it's good for a mass audience, and then you have a banger. So, and again, it's all about the audience. Okay. Because if you don't make it past this first phase, it means that your video is only interesting to like a tiny percentage of the people. And of course, YouTube isn't going to show that video to more viewers because they want people on their platform as long as possible. If you make it past the second phase, this means that YouTube has determined, okay, your video is fitting for a large amount of people in your niche, so we're going to start blasting it everywhere. Now, the specific metrics YouTube uses to determine whether or not they're going to continue pushing your video are CTR and AVD. So a video pops off when it has above average CTR and AVD. CTR stands for click-through rate, and AVD stands for average view duration. So click-through rate is what percentage of people who see your video actually click on it. And average view duration is how long people watch your video once they're there. Your goal with your video is to get as high a possible click-through rate and average view duration as possible, obviously. So how do we do that? We create something extremely unique that hasn't been seen before. So one thing you'll notice about all these dynamics is there's lots of skills that you need to become a YouTuber, like making thumbnails and making titles and all these things. But the better you are in one area, the more you can get away with being bad in other areas, if that makes sense. So like, for example, sometimes you will see the shittiest thumbnail ever just go mega viral. And usually the reason for that is because either the video itself is super engaging and so people watch a ton of it, or the idea for the video is so unique and it's something people have never seen before. And the fact that that idea is good makes up for the fact that the thumbnail is bad, right? Another situation you can think about is like, there are all kinds of things that affect people's interest and how ready they are to click on your video. So like, for example, when you're covering a trending topic, you can get away with more in terms of having a shitty thumbnail and a bad video, and you're probably gonna get way more views than you would covering any other topic, simply because that topic is trending right now. And so people are gonna click on your video more by default. The click-through rate is gonna be higher on those videos because they're trending. Then as soon as the topic goes away, boom, your click-through is going to fall through the roof, right? So yeah, cover something that's trending. That's another way you can get high CTR and AVD. Create something with way above average quality for the niche. So editing, storytelling, script writing, humor, skill, or ideas, okay? This is how we get this above average click-through rate and average view duration. Again, I just want to stress that the algorithm is your audience. So don't stop thinking about the algorithm as some like corporate YouTube robot. The algorithm is just what the audience wants boiled down to a science. These guys have gotten it down to an exact science, what the audience wants and how to serve what they want to them. And they're always making it better. So whenever you say algorithm, think audience, okay? You're building things for an actual audience, for real people. So important elements of a YouTube video, you have editing, you have storytelling and script writing, you have humor, you have skill, and you have knowledge. These things all kind of come together to form a YouTube video. And again, like I said, the better you are in one area, the less you need in others. So when you're thinking about what niche to go to, maybe consider which of these areas you're best at and try to lean into styles of content that best suit your skills. Does that make sense? All right, part 4, winning YouTube strategies explained. Now we're going to start getting into more practical, specific stuff. Okay. So I'm going to cover specific styles of strategies that you can implement for your YouTube channel. So at a base level, all strategies should plan to use off-platform monetization. So that means that when you start your channel, you should have a plan to monetize it off platform from the get-go. And again, later on in a later chapter, we'll talk about exactly what that looks like. But just keep in mind that when you're coming up with your niche, it would be very good to think about things that you could sell to your audience or something you could do off platform to provide extra value to your audience. Okay. So ideally you want to find a niche that has a very good potential for things that you could do off site. So the power of off-platform monetization, you rely less on YouTube AdSense, which fluctuates. Okay. So for example, like we talked about with my coaching, I didn't really care about my RPMs because I knew that give or take for every 20,000 views I got, I would get anywhere from 5 to 10 coaching students, which would result in anywhere from $50 to $500 of revenue per student. So for me, you're looking at anywhere from $500 to $1,000 or more in effective RPMs on my YouTube channel, because I knew that if I got 20,000 views, 5 to 10 people become coaching students. And so I made like $50 off YouTube ad revenue. That's whatever. But my effective RPMs are so high because I got coaching students off of that. Okay. So you rely less on YouTube AdSense. And once you have a business off platform, you can kind of predict what your income is going to look like much more reliably. Okay. You rely less on YouTube policies, which change, much higher effective RPMs. You already talked about that. You have direct access to your audience. So like I said, YouTube controls the information on your audience. You have no good way to directly communicate with them. YouTube knows this is a problem and they're starting to come up with solutions for this, like the channel membership and the community tab and all that stuff, but you're still beholden to the algorithm because even if you make a community post, only a fraction of your audience is going to see that. Whereas if you have your audience's information off on another platform, you can guarantee that basically everyone sees a message you want to send them through email or text or Discord or something like that, right? So if you monetize an audience off platform, you have direct access to your audience, and that's huge. All right, so strategy number 1, challenges, okay? You're probably already familiar with this. So this is the de facto strategy for gaming content. You play the game in a challenging or unorthodox way. You tell the story of your playthrough in an engaging way using a classic hero's journey story structure, which we'll talk about that in the next slide, what that looks like. And you use voiceovers and fancy in-post I think this is supposed to say in-post editing to flesh out the story of your playthrough, okay? So the reason this is so genius, it's the natural evolution of the Let's Play, because normally in the past you have a Let's Play where somebody just turns on the camera and plays for 20 minutes and there was like minimal editing. That's cool, but it got to the point where people got kind of bored with that. So now what people are doing that's absolutely genius is they play through the game, then they recontextualize it in post to tell a story out of it. Everything we do has some sort of story, and if you can tell that in a way that's interesting, you're going to be golden. And I'm going to talk about this left, right, front, and center all throughout this video, that story is the number one most important thing you can do as a YouTuber. For example, think about your time playing Skyrim. Instead of just recording stuff happening to you, you could record your playthrough of Skyrim and then narrate things and build tension in certain points and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure you've seen videos like this, so you kind of get what I'm talking about. But this is, if you want to go into gaming, I would say this is like the strategy you should do. Unless you're really good at the game you're playing. If you're like a god at whatever you're playing, then you can go the kind of skill route. But challenges is just so effective because people want story now. That's where the trend is going. People want a good story. Okay, so let's talk about the hero's journey. Story structure. This is old as time. It's a classic, okay? The hero faces a problem. The hero makes a plan to solve the problem, often with the help of a mentor. Number 3, the hero faces trials, obstacles, and setbacks. Number 4, the hero overcomes obstacles and gains new skills. Repeat. Okay, so in a lot of challenge videos, you'll see this repeat itself like 50 times. This is the hero's journey story structure, and you want to keep this in mind as you're crafting the story of your videos, okay? You want to pose a problem or an interesting question, and then you want to make a plan to solve the problem, and then you face trials and setbacks, and that's where it gets interesting, right? Because people are like, oh, how's he going to solve this? That seems so hard, blah, 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 blah. And then you overcome the obstacles, you gain new skills, and then this repeats oftentimes multiple times in the video. So why this works so well is because it follows the timeless rules of a good story, okay? Again, when I was talking about stuff that Hollywood and business have known for decades and YouTubers are just now catching up, this is what I'm talking about. Hollywood has known that the way you sell stuff is through story, and YouTubers are just now catching up to that, okay? Humans relate to stories. We insert ourselves into stories. We see our lives through the lens of a good story. Like, story is everything, okay? So it immediately introduces an intriguing problem, the challenge strategy. It introduces a twist on something you're familiar with, right? So you'll be scrolling your feed, and then this guy says, oh, I'm gonna beat Minecraft. I just saw one. It was Minecraft one block without items. Unmodded, no items. So he had something running that cleared his inventory constantly, and then it was no modded one block. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, how, right? You have to click on that. Like, how is this guy going to beat Minecraft? And then the intro, he's talking about how he wants to push the world to its limits and all this stuff. And I'm like, how? Literally how? The other reason the challenge format works so well is because it has more mass appeal, right? So there's not a lot of people who will just watch a guy play Skyrim for 25 minutes straight, but there are a lot of people out there who will listen to a guy who reinterprets a Skyrim playthrough into an interesting fantasy story that a wide audience will be able to relate to and enjoy, right? That's part of the reason that these challenge videos have gone so viral, is because people who normally would just engage with it if they were really hardcore fans, now it's like, oh, I don't even play Minecraft, but yeah, I'll watch this guy tell this story of his Minecraft playthrough. And that's why story is so effective. The other reason challenges are so effective is because it's bounded and specific. So when the viewer clicks on your video, they know what they're getting into, right? One thing that kills YouTube videos is lack of clarity and lack of specificity. So like, I won't click on a video unless I can know exactly what to expect from the video, because I always have this thing going on in my brain like, oh, it's 10 minutes. I know I probably shouldn't be watching this. I should go do something else. But if I know what I'm getting into, I'm like, okay, that sounds interesting. I'll give it a shot, right? It challenges the viewer's knowledge of the game, right? People are going, oh, could I do that? Oh, how's he going to do that? They're racking their brain thinking, based on what I know about the game, how could he do this, right? It's like a personal challenge as well as like oh, I want to watch this guy do this thing. And also people just like watching others suffer. Okay, plain and simple. So some examples of this, right? We have Harvest Z. Can I survive 3 days in the Project Zomboid Mall, right? So super bounded, you know what you're getting into, and it's very interesting. Like, he's immediately posed a problem and a challenge, and you want to see how he solves that problem. Another one, Gino Machino, Elden Ring, but I'm only leveling mind, right? It's like, oh, this guy's really good at the game. I wonder what he's going to be able to do by leveling only mind, right? And if you know anything about Elden Ring, is there anything that scales off of mind? Maybe I'm terrible, but I thought that most incants and sorceries were intelligence, arcane, and faith. I don't know. I'm getting into nerd shit here, but you can see what's going on in my brain when I see this. I'm like, oh, what's he going to do? What's he going to do, right? So this is another challenge. Right? He takes Elden Ring, he puts a spin on it. And then Rain Bolt, follower, you can't find my dinner. Rain Bolt, right? Coordinates. So a fan told me I couldn't find his dinner, right? So again, a challenge. In one sentence, in one thumbnail, he's already set up a whole story. He's already sold you on a story, right? And you're like, oh, I want to see if Rain Bolt can find this guy's dinner, right? Then another example, Rarin, How I Reached Legend being free to play. So it's a Hearthstone video. And, people talk all the time about Hearthstone being pay to win, which it is. But he's, the basic gist is, oh, can a free to play player, reach legend? And so you want to see how he did it, all that good stuff. Another one, How I Beat the Hardest Wizard 101 challenge ever. Die equals restart, no pets or crowns, must play solo, no side quest, no bizarre gear. I don't know shit about this game. Never played it in my life. Never heard of it. When I saw this in my feed, I wanted to click on it because I'm like, oh, the hardest challenge ever. Like, it's interesting, right? There's that mass appeal element that's playing into it. So tips for the challenge strategy. So to do the challenge strategy well, 1, you want to cut out as much useless fluff as you can. Everything should drive the story forward. Again, story is what we live for. If you're going to lose retention at periods where it kind of devolves into random side crap or whatever. So you want to cut out as much bad fluff as possible. You want to make sure the challenge can be packaged well and will be fun to watch. So there's some challenges that just aren't fun to watch, or they don't really add that much to a video. Like, you want to make sure the challenge you're doing leaves a lot of room for creativity and plays into the hero's journey story arc, right? You want to make sure that there are things that you can learn and improve at throughout the challenge. You want to explain things that are even a little complicated in creative ways while maintaining the story so that your video has mass appeal. So, for example, a while ago, I made a video with my brother about how we built an emerald castle with 250,000 emerald blocks, and or 250,000 emeralds. It was, divide that by 9, however many emerald blocks. The raid farm we built was stupid complicated, but I had to explain why the raid farm was relevant in a way that would be appealing to a wide audience. And that video did pretty well. So for example, and again, I'm teaching you marketing principles. This is stuff that you can take beyond YouTube. So for example, instead of we need to build a raid farm, it's, what did I say? Something like we needed a way to get emeralds really fast so that we could build emerald blocks, right? And that instead of just stating what something is, you're saying why it's important and relevant to the story. So instead of I need to go find a shotgun, right? You say, I need to go find the best weapon in the game because it'll protect me from this, right? That's just marketing principles. And again, it's all about the story. It's all about the story. You need to introduce your challenge quickly to hook the viewer, okay? So they see the challenge, they click on it. You need to immediately inside the hook, you need to explain more about the challenge and what your plan is to beat it and all that stuff. So you need to deliver on what you said you were doing in the title, right? And the downside to the strategy is that it requires a lot of editing. So these videos take a lot of time to edit. It requires you to be very good at the game in question, or at least get very creative to do something that is intriguing. So yeah, like this Gino Machino guy, right? Back here. I couldn't do this, right? Like I'm not a good enough Elden Ring player to do this. I don't know enough about the game to be able to like get creative with this. I'm sure if I did enough, Googling and all that stuff, that's the thing. If you come up with a creative idea and you're like, oh, I don't know if I could do that. See if you can kind of Google things and do some research to kind of get your skills or your knowledge up to par to make the video, right? All right, so now we'll move on to strategy number 2. I'm getting kind of hot, so I'm gonna take off my hoodie. So this is a very popular strategy and it's relatively low barrier to entry. You don't have to show your face. Even if you have a shitty microphone, it can work out okay. But you've all seen videos like this. It'll like pop up on your feed. Like I saw one the other day, why Ocean Gate is worse than you thought. And then it's just a faceless story of him telling all the story of Ocean Gate and who the creator was in the past and kind of what led him up to that point and what went wrong and all that stuff. And it was super interesting, right? So to do this, pick an interesting topic, usually one with broad appeal. Here's the thing. You can go one of two routes. You can go, okay, I'm going to try to go as mass appeal as possible with things like the news, or the Ocean Gate video was an example that had like 4.5 million views because that's a broad audience. The media has so much reach. Like everyone knows what happened, or everyone knows about Ocean Gate and what happened with it and all that stuff. But again, it doesn't have to be a super broad topic. It can be things. It's better that you do something that you're interested and knowledgeable about than try to scramble to do something just for the money, right? You want to explore an unexplored aspect of that topic. So a lot of the videos that you see that do well, they'll like ask a question that you probably haven't asked about that game or that show or whatever, and they explore that aspect of it. Appeals to nostalgia are very effective. I'm seeing this all over the place, especially within the Call of Duty space. People just love anything that appeals to their nostalgia. Okay, so right now, that's what's working really well. So these are just some things that you can think about when you're trying to come up with an idea for a Faceless Stories YouTube channel. Relatively low barrier to entry. Editing can be outsourced if you aren't a good video editor. So I know people who have, they'll write the script, record everything, then outsource the video editing by hiring somebody, and they do that as like an investment. Good script writing, storytelling skills, and knowledge of the topic are essential. So you can't really succeed without at least, I'd say, an above average knowledge of these 3 areas. Okay, so script writing, storytelling skills, knowledge of the topic. So now let's look at some examples. Derpy, this is an up and coming channel. I think he has less than 100K right now, but he's definitely blowing up. Verrucht, zombies' most feared high rounds. Okay, and then he has his thumbnail. The horror of Black Ops 2 zombies, right? So there's several things going on here. You have the appeal to nostalgia. You have storytelling going on because most feared high rounds. Okay, here's the thing. I was never a serious zombie player, but the amount of zombies videos I've watched is actually nuts because it's just so intriguing and there's still a little bit of nostalgia in there for me. Like I did play a little bit of zombies, but I was never like a hardcore zombies person. But it just appeals to that nostalgia of World at War, and it makes me go, oh, why was Verrucht so feared? Like that's the question that's going into your brain if you don't know about Verrucht. If you do know about Verrucht, then sometimes you don't even know enough to go, or you're asking, oh, I wonder what he thinks is the fearsome part about Verrucht, right? So you're like, there's like a social aspect of like, you're trying to compare knowledge with this guy. Then same thing with the horror of Black Ops 2 zombies. You're like, oh, what about it made it so horrific, So here's that video I was talking about, The Fool. So I was wrong about the view count. My apologies, it's not intentional. But 2.8 million views. Ocean Gate is worse than you thought, right? Example from the channel called Breaking Point, most broken metas in Call of Duty history. Same thing, appeal to nostalgia. It's a faceless storytelling video. Other thing is that this video in particular, the feared high rounds, does a really good job of wrapping a topic in a different package. So what I mean by that is that if you go into the video, yes, he does address why Verruct is feared, but he's actually focusing on the main focus on the video is people who have set records in Verruct high rounds. So he goes through different playthroughs, and again, he follows the hero's the hero's journey story structure, right? Because he goes to in the first part of the video, it's the first guy who set the first high round record, and then he goes, but he fell short, and then that record sat for a long time until a new challenger rises up, right? And it's this constant storytelling going on. But I guess all that to say is that kind of the main idea of the video is examining successful Verruct high rounds players, but he packages it in a way that's very interesting to a wide audience, right? So zombies most feared high rounds. That's totally different than if you said, he's not saying these people made the highest rounds on Verruct or whatever. He kind of took his core idea of his video, then packaged it in a way that's very appealing, but isn't clickbait. I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm just kind of planting these ideas in your brain, even if they don't make perfect sense. But the faceless story strategy is you got to be good at script writing, and we'll talk about that later. So strategy number 3 for YouTube strategies, be really fucking good at something. So this one is fun. It's like a cheat code, requires the least amount of video editing, storytelling, script writing knowledge to see results quickly. If you're really good at a game, just start, posting your footage, posting things that are interesting. You can do minimal editing and storytelling, and it's just going to blow up because people are like, whoa, how did he do that? That kind of happened to me with Dota. Like, I still had good editing in those videos, but it didn't require anything near like when I'm editing for Minecraft channels or faceless channels, right? Like the amount of editing that it took to make the Dota videos succeed was nowhere near as close as the other ones. And that's because I was really good at the game. And so I could hook people with these high level concepts and by helping them improve the game right away. It's also very easy to monetize off site with courses, coaching programs, etc. Because if you're really good at the game, you can, do coaching programs. This is mainly for like competitive gaming, I would say, but you can still come up with creative ways to monetize other games that aren't competitive necessarily. It transitions incredibly well to live streaming because people want to learn from you by watching you. So they'll see a video of you, doing something really well, and they see your live and they're like, oh, I want to jump in his live stream and see if there's anything I can learn from him, right? And that happened to me. I posted those videos about Dota, and then I had people jumping in my channel wanting to watch me all the time. The other thing I want to add here that I'm just now thinking about that I didn't add is that the engagement with these channels tends to be very high. It tends to be a lot of repeat viewers because they're really dedicated to getting good at something. So they're going to watch your stuff over and over and over and over, and they're going to watch every single thing you put out and all that stuff. So that's what I saw. I had a lot of repeat viewers. I had a lot of regulars in my stream. And it's because if you're really good at something, you're going to attract people who are also trying to get there. And that takes a lot of work, right? Now, for some notable examples of people that have done this well, there's so many more, but these are just a handful of ones that I know in different niches. So let me solo her, right? This guy literally made a career out of the mere fact that he is able to solo Melania like 30,000 times with nothing but a pot and a sword. A pot in his head and a sword. Gino Machino, just an absolute cracked Souls player. This guy does like no hit runs. I think he beat every single Souls game, including Sekiro, without getting hit, right? It was Demon Souls, DS123, Sekiro, Bloodborne, and Elden Ring, all without getting hit, I'm pretty sure. Lol Tyler 1, obviously very high level, very skilled streamer. The dude reached master. Is that right? Don't crucify me, League players, but he reached master in every role. And then he switched to chess and he got like a 1900 chess rating in like 6 months. Something stupid, just absolutely skilled person. Z-Laner, this dude blew up out of nowhere from I was following this guy since the beginning when I was really into Warzone. And just an insanely talented Call of Duty player, Warzone player mainly. Banana Slamajama, this is a Dota content creator that I followed. Mumbo Jumbo, right? The Red Stoner. This guy is the Red Stoner, okay? When it comes to Redstone and cool, crazy Minecraft shit, this guy is who comes to mind, okay? And then Mark Brunette, he used to be an artist for Riot, but he does a lot of drawing tutorials. He also sells an art class on his website. So all that to say, those are some examples of people who are really good at what they do. If you're really good at a game, you shouldn't have that hard of a time on YouTube, honestly. So tips for the strategy. Think about what beginners in your field would find interesting. Think about challenges and problems you've faced along your journey and speak directly to those things. So again, in this video, specifically, and in all the videos that I post to this channel, I intentionally tried to use language that appealed to keywords and things that lower ranked players would be thinking. So I had all this high level knowledge, but if I talk about it in my language, it's not going to connect. So I translated it into language that other people would resonate with. Again, that's just marketing. That's marketing. Strategy number 4, social jacking. So how does social jacking work? So you make videos about famous creators or famous people until one catches the algorithm. Then you make another video that's closer to your own original content, but still related to the first video. And then you transition into fully making your own original content. This is a very effective strategy. Lots of famous people have used it. Dream, I know you social jacking. Early on, he would make videos about PewDiePie, and then he transitioned into his own content, had a lot of success with that, obviously. The thing with Dream is that he made videos about PewDiePie, and then he started making these interesting videos that required like custom mods that he coded. And that was like the draw of Dream, is like, one of the big draws was like, oh, he actually has like some game knowledge to code these like cool plugins and stuff like that. So that was how he paired audience interest with his skills, and it just kind of coalesced into the behemoth that is Dream. So my failed attempt at social jacking. Okay. So 3 years ago on one of my channels, you can still find this video. It's still public. Unfortunately, it got demonetized for something stupid. I don't remember what, but how to solve the entire MrBeast riddle step by step. So I released this the day after MrBeast released his riddle. I don't know if you remember, a few years back, he did this big riddle that he said was harder than Cicada 3301. It was actually super buggy and jank and kind of stupid, but I dug through all of it and I joined a Discord of people who were also trying to crack the riddle. And I recorded everything and I pieced together how you solve the riddle. And I posted it like that night. Like he released the challenge that day, recorded and edited all day, busted my ass till like 4 or 5 in the morning. Woke up 4 hours later, I had like 15,000 views and I was losing my shit. It just kind of ballooned to this, almost 1 million views. And I was like, this sucks so bad. But again, it's part of the learning process. And I knew, okay, I have all these viewers. It's time to transition. So I did Stop the Train or Die Warzone Season 5. I want you to just stop and think for a second about why this didn't work. There are many reasons, and I know what they are in retrospect. But the big one, the main reason this didn't work is because the people who watch these kinds of videos, like this is kind of a drama video, or people who just want the money, right? Or people who are interested in MrBeast, probably just people who want to solve the riddle and get the money, right? That audience does not overlap at all with Warzone players. The 600 people that watched it were Warzone players out of this, however many people and however many subscribers I got. And that was kind of that was my key mistake. I should have made content that was more relevant to the big influx of people that I got, and then slowly transitioned it over time after showing more of my personality and stuff like that. Mystery Ore is an example of somebody who did this perfectly. So this is 3 years ago, Dream versus Technoblade. Who will win MrBeast's $100,000 duel? Again, so he has Dream, Technoblade, and MrBeast in the title. That's a pretty good 3-way social jacking, right? And then he made this video, How I Mastered Minecraft 1.8 PvP in 1 week. This first video is about Dream, Technoblade, and MrBeast, but it's also, what are they doing? They're doing PvP. The people who are interested in this video probably care a lot about PvP. It always blows my mind how big some niches are on YouTube. Like, I didn't even know that Minecraft PvP was such a big thing until recently. And then, so there's a lot of overlap between these audiences, right? And then he transitioned to completely original content and he made the video that broke YouTube. It's like one of the most iconic Minecraft videos ever, I would say. Like, who hasn't seen this thumbnail, right? Like, this video popped up like literally 50 times in my recommended. Like, actually 50 times. I don't think I've watched it yet, honestly, which is kind of funny. But yeah, Mystery Ore did this perfectly. So those are the main strategies that I would say you should start with if you want to do YouTube. For a lot of you that are kind of starting out or kind of amateur, it might feel like you're getting locked into something you don't want to do, but you just have to get creative with how you take your interest and what you're good at and translate it into something that kind of fits into one of these formats. But let's talk about some other strategies very quickly. So IRL content. So why I didn't include IRL content in this is, so at least the kind of IRL content I watch and the kind of IRL content that's getting popular is storytelling type videos or documentary type videos that are filmed IRL. The reason I'm not talking about those here is because they require a lot of money and resources to do well. Like, you at least have to have money for a good camera. You could do it with an iPhone. I don't know if I've seen anybody do that, but you have to have a certain level of quality and storytelling skills. And so it's not as accessible as some of these other niches. The other thing is that a lot of people who have really successful IRL content usually have some sort of skill that they could easily monetize somewhere else. So like, for example, I know so many people because I met a lot of people doing business. I know people like Ken Jocelyn, Phil Stringer, some other people who they've never touched YouTube, but they have an insane skill that they've monetized elsewhere to just make gobs and gobs of money. All I'd say is usually a lot of times what I found is that if you're capable of doing IRL content, you either have money, resources, or skills that would be better suited to making money some other way. That being said, if you do want to do this style of content, it it's all goes back to the storytelling. Think about your audience, think about things that would be interesting to the kind of people you're trying to reach, and make content for them. Okay. And focus on the story. The story is so key. So now we have comedy. So I think comedy is in kind of a rough place. I think comedy has been super devalued because of how much of it we're exposed to now. Like, we see 10 billion memes a day. I think memes particularly have contributed to the devaluing of comedy. And I feel like you have to, I don't know, you have to be in a certain mood to want to watch comedy. Like, it's not this obsessive, all-consuming thing that you could either do while you're scrolling or something you could really get lost in, like some of these other, like, for example, if you're following like me, when I was following BSJ, I obsessed over all his stuff because like all I want to do is get good at Dota. These other strategies are just super interesting all the time, whereas comedy you have to be like in a specific mood for. So I think making a purely comedic channel nowadays is very hard. There's also so much competition because like since Fits and Soviet Womble started, there's so many budget Fitses and Soviet Wombles that's like they're pretty funny, but their editing and their jokes aren't anywhere near as good. It's just a style of video that doesn't work as well as it used to. That being said, I think if you want to do comedy, I think the absolute best way to do that is a shorts channel. I think comedic stuff like that doesn't match with long form stuff very well. But if you make a shorts channel, blow the shorts channel up and then start live streaming, like get people to your live stream from your shorts channel, I think that is the way to go for comedy. The next strategy is the search strategy. This one is very tricky. You basically make videos that people search for a lot. Stuff that comes to mind is like channels that make guides for how to find items or do quests or whatever in RPGs. That's one I've done before. Like when Tiny Tina's Wonderlands dropped, I made tons of content on Tiny Tina's Wonderlands and I made quite a bit of money, got a lot of views doing Wonderlands. And the reason being is because people would search for how to find this thing. And so it kept getting views over and over. The problem with the search strategy is you could also compare this to like how to fix your car or how to fix things in your home or whatever. The problem with this strategy is that, for one, usually people care more about trying to do what they're trying to do or trying to fix what they want to fix or whatever than they do about your personality. So you really have to get creative because you want to transition those people into people who aren't just going to watch your video just to help them out with something. You want to try to transition them into long-term viewers. Also, when the topic dries up, your views dry up with it. Usually stuff like how to find this won't get recommended. It's only found in search, which is really interesting. Same thing happened to me with Tiny Tina Wonderlands. That game was awesome. I covered it for the first month after launch. And then the content they released after was so lame and the base game was lacking quite a bit of content, honestly, that as soon as people were done with it, all the views just dried up, just gone. Next, we have the live streamer strategy. I think this is so viable. There's a girl named Bubble or It's Bubble or something like that did this really well, where you just make a shorts channel. You just post funny moments or epic moments from your stream as shorts with, you know, a branded thing for your Twitch or YouTube or whatever. This works great because you're relying on your primary income being from live streaming. You don't really care if your long form videos don't perform really well every single time. So you can just blast shorts out there from your stream and your goal is to get people to the live stream. So I think this actually works really, really well. All right, let's move on to part 5, getting people to click on your video. So click-through rate is king. If people don't click on your video, they don't watch. Here's what I found in terms of the percentage, the click-through rate that you're going for to make a successful video. You want more than 6% for the entire life cycle of the video. I have found time and time again that videos that stay above 6% click-through rate for the entire life cycle of the video and have a decent view duration, obviously, always pop off. Almost without fail, when I see my click-through rate drop to like 4%, whatever, I know that it's going to get stuck in that second audience and it's probably never going to go to banger territory. So this is kind of what you're going for, okay? And we're going to get really practical with this. Just bear with me. I really want to dive into the things you need to know and the why and all that stuff. So you have 2 tools to get people to click on your video. You have the thumbnail and the title. So here's some key concepts for the thumbnail and the title. Don't restate the same information in both places, okay? You are given limited real estate to get people to click. Don't double up on the info in both places. Like, don't put your video title and then put your video title in your thumbnail as well, right? It's just a stupid waste of space. So here's an example. Why Minecraft Kids content is horrifying, right? So that's the title. And then the thumbnail expands on the information given the title. So trauma, dun, 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 right? Like they complement each other. So thumbnail do's and don'ts. Make sure you have one focal point. So don't put have one point of focus. Don't put like one graphic in the top left and one graphic in the top right and one in the bottom left and one in the bottom right, right? Like Make sure there's one point that people are focusing on. Don't place important elements in the bottom right ever, because that's where the timestamp is. It covers it up. It looks trashy. It bugs people. It destroys your click-through rate. So don't put anything remotely important in the bottom right. Crank the brightness, saturation, and contrast. This is something you'll see people do all the time. You know, if you look at a picture normally on your computer or your phone, it looks good, but it really has to stand out amongst the other thumbnails and stuff like that. And it really needs to be eye-catching. And so very common practice to just crank brightness and saturation and contrast on almost every thumbnail. Even beyond like what a photographer would say, oh, that's like proper exposure and stuff like that. Like you really want to make it bright, make sure it stands out. You want to keep things simple. So don't overwhelm the viewer with stuff in the thumbnail. Keep it as simple as possible, as simple as it needs to be to convey your message. Don't make a stressful image. This is kind of the same thing. Sometimes you look at a thumbnail and you're like, I'm not sure where I'm supposed to look. I'm like, this thumbnail doesn't make me feel relaxed. I don't know what I'm looking at or where I'm supposed to be looking. And you never want that to be the case. So preview the thumbnail zoomed out. So every time you make a thumbnail, you want to zoom way out and then look at it when it's small, because that's the way that a lot of people are going to see it. And you want to make sure that it is still appealing even when it's zoomed out. The other thing is use something representative of the video. Lots of times we'll see people just taking a screenshot and then using that, like trying to doctor it up. Lots of times we'll see people like using a screenshot from the video and doctoring it up to try and make a good thumbnail, but that's almost never what you want to do. It's so hard to get a quality image that way. Usually you just want to make something entirely new for the thumbnail that represents what's in the video, right? And you know, you'll see Mr. Beast do that all the time with his highly edited thumbnails. That image isn't actually in the video, but he's doing something that's representative of the video, right? Here's another huge key concept. Create the title and thumbnail before filming. And sorry, these are stuck together. I forgot to add a space, but you want to make sure before you go through all the effort of making your video that it even looks appealing to click on. Because if nobody clicks on it, you're going to spend all this time making your video. Nobody's going to click on it. And it's going to be a sad day. So you want to create your title and your thumbnail before you even begin filming. Come up with tons of iterations. Make it awesome. Okay. This is so important. All right, now moving on to the title. Do's and don'ts, right? So same thing, keep things simple. You don't want a confusing title. Keep things simple, compact, and punchy. You want to stay away from vague titles. So for example, if you're making a video about getting possessed, I don't know, don't title the video, I went crazy. Title the video, I got possessed by a demon from hell, or something like that, right? You want to make your titles specific. Don't make them vague. Don't use vague language. Use specific, attractive language. In the title, you want to address keywords and pain points your audience might have. So this is particularly relevant to like guides and skill-based channels. Like you want to use words that your audience would resonate with. Title for broad appeal. So next we have title for broad appeal and focus on the benefits. These are kind of similar. For example, let's say you're reviewing camera lenses. You're making a list of good camera lenses for a specific camera. Don't say things like the top 7 lenses for the Fujifilm platform, right? Instead, what you want to do is something like these 7 lenses will transform your photography, or these 7 lenses will make for beautiful images, right? And what you're doing there is you're titling for broad appeal, and you're also focusing on the benefits, right? Because Steve Jobs knew this, car companies know this. They're not trying to sell you a car. They're selling you the experience that a car gives you. And that's kind of what you're trying to do in the title as well. People buy lenses because they want to take good pictures and tell good stories. And that's why it all comes back to like knowing your audience. Like, for example, in Me with Dota, you know, it's not use these tips to get to high rank. It's use these things to outplay your opponents. Those kinds of things. Those are the benefits that people are looking for. They want to feel powerful in game, like they're overwhelming their opponent, right? Like people don't buy sports cars, they buy feeling like a badass when you drive your Porsche around and stuff like that, right? So you want to focus on the benefits, the feelings, the experiences, things like that. That's what people click on. That's some marketing 101 for you. Do not use series titles ever. You know, in the days of like Rooster Teeth and stuff like that, people treated YouTube exactly like TV in some sense, where it was like, okay, we just keep releasing episodes of the same thing, call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and people like it. It doesn't work that way anymore. There's just so many channels and so many options. People don't interact with channels the same way that they did before. And so you can make series videos, but each video needs to be a self-contained idea. So somebody I know that's doing this really well, his name is Schwepp, and he's making a hardcore series, I believe, but each video is a self-contained idea. So the reason this is so important is because if people see part 2 in your title, they're instantly like, oh, I'm missing information there. And so I probably won't enjoy it. They're afraid of missing out, of missing key information. So it just destroys your click-through rate. Nobody's going to go, oh, part 2, I want to look at that, guys, and go back to part 1, right? Like people are just, YouTube is so competitive And if there's any reason for them not to click, they're not going to. It's simple as that. So now we have some winning thumbnail formats that you can use. So I found a very good explanation. This is a while ago, so I'm just going to take his explanation, put it here. Yes, a lot of this stuff is common knowledge. It's shared. Even this guy, I think, took it from somebody else, but here are some winning thumbnail formats. So I credited Isaac here, but actually it seems like Tyler Fleischman. I've checked out both these channels. They're both great. I'll link them in the description. It says, this is how airplanes are tested, and they're throwing a chicken into the airplane engine. And you're like, what? Do they actually do that? Right? So you get shocked and you want to click on it. Has 5.3 million views. You have big numbers, right? I bought every PlayStation ever, 20,000 views or $20,000. That's the big numbers. You have the simple thumbnail, which I really like these thumbnails because they stand out in your feed. Right? It's very simple. Black and white, there's one chair. It says how this chair conquered the world. This thumbnail is genius for so many reasons. For one, everyone's seen this chair and they're somehow everywhere. It's such an innocuous thing, but it's an appeal to nostalgia. It makes you question something that you thought previously was like, you just took for granted, right? There's a white chair that's there and it's everywhere. I don't know why. I don't care. But it's a genius video idea. Question, right? So what happened to Google search? And the thumbnail says why you can't find anything. Very classic winning thumbnail format. Size difference. Minecraft YouTubers use this all the time. I see other people use this all the time, but you have, a big thing in the thumbnail and a tiny thing in the thumbnail. And you go, whoa, that's crazy, right? You have the header thumbnail. This is kind of similar to the big numbers thumbnail, but it's like the Minecraft Kids content video that I showed earlier in the video. You have your title, I survived 50 hours in a nuclear bunker, and then you have a big header, 500 feet deep, right? And it adds extra context to the title. It's a header style. Comparison, right? I fought super AI in an editing battle. So blank versus blank. You see this all over the place. It's a winning thumbnail format. Then we have blurred. So I learned Blender in a week. So day 1, day 7. They're instantly setting up a story, but they're hiding the payoff until the end, right? Social hacking. So in this instance, they have a famous person in the thumbnail. And they also, this is very common with podcast titles. So like, this is a social dynamic that we're all very familiar with that we want to fix, right? You're lazy because you're bored. It's like, oh no, I got to fix it, right? So you click on it. Then we have weird object. This is the last thumbnail format as detailed by Tyler Fleischman. And this video has 8.2 million views. This is the dumbest product I've ever reviewed. And it's just Marquez sitting in this random like headset thing. So figure out, that I would run with one of these thumbnails, and most thumbnails that you'll see out there are a combination of them or like a hybrid. It's not one or the other. But these are the techniques and the thumbnail templates that you can use. As far as making thumbnails like software, Photoshop is the absolute best bar none. However, I fucking hate Adobe. And I canceled all their stuff recently. They're an evil, scummy corporation. Louis Rossmann talked about this, but I opened up Adobe one day and I literally could not access my project files until I agreed to their new terms of service, which let their AI shit crawl my projects and send information back to them. And I had to agree to that before being able to access my project files. So they're like Lewis says, it's rapist mentality. They're holding something from you under threat of duress that you already paid for, by the way, that I was paying for. Just scummy, evil company. And, I've paid them thousands of dollars over the years. I'm fucking done. I canceled everything. I switched to DaVinci Resolve, and I've been getting by with GIMP and Canva. I know there are people out there that are way better than me. I'm probably just used to Photoshop. I'm still on the fence about pirating Photoshop. I really want to. I don't know if it's ethical, as scummy as Adobe is, but anyway, enough of my rant here. I would say Photoshop, GIMP, or Canva. Canva's free. GIMP is also free, and you can do a lot of cool things with both of these softwares if you know what you're doing. So good stuff there. Part 6, getting people to watch your video. So we're going to talk about, you get them to click. How do you get them to stay, right? So average view duration is king. We talk about clicking, we talk about watching, click-through rate, and average view duration. You need a good amount of both for a banger video, okay? What I've noticed is more than 5 minutes on a 10-minute video is a solid view duration. One thing I real quickly want to add to this is that views aren't necessarily a perfect indicator of whether or not a video did well, because it's all relative to your niche. So for example, when I was making Dota content, getting a video that had 30,000 views was like incredible. You're reaching a significant percentage of the people who watch Dota content on YouTube, right? That wouldn't be that much for Minecraft because there's hundreds of millions of Minecraft players, but you have to keep in mind that your view count is relative to your niche. And so you shouldn't always expect to get 5 million every single time. You want to think about the size of your niche and try to hit good view numbers for that niche, right? So the target view duration you're looking at is more than 5 minutes on a 10+ minute video, and 80 to 90% on a video that's less than 5 minutes. So I've come to realize that short long form videos are not the way to go on YouTube. I mean, all you have to do is look around anywhere and you can see that that's the case, blatantly, transparently. The reason is that if you think about it from YouTube's perspective, they want the person to stay on their platform for as long as possible because you'll see more ads. And so videos that are like 2-3 minutes long, even if you get like 60% view duration, you're still only getting, 2 minutes or whatever of view duration, which comparing that to other videos, you're spending way less time on their platform. So short long form videos are in an awkward spot. You really want to try to stretch them out if you can. But I have seen that short long form videos can perform well if you get a very high click-through rate and a very high average view duration. I think that's just because YouTube realizes, hey, this is objectively a good video, even if it's not, we're not getting as much watch time out of it as other people might. That's why I put this one in percentages and this one in terms of view duration. So throughout my testing, this is what I've seen, is that greater than 5 minutes on a 10+ minute video is a pretty good average view duration, and you have a pretty decent chance of, your video kind of blowing up. You want to shoot for as much as you can, obviously, but this is kind of your target. Now, in terms of how to actually get your average view duration up, right? How to get good average view duration. So we're going to break it down to multiple parts of the video because you need to do different things in different parts of the video to keep people engaged. So part 1 is the hook, okay? You want to address the title, meet or exceed expectations immediately, quickly set up a problem, and set up for the rest of the video. Okay. The hook usually lasts about a minute. It's like 49 seconds, somewhere in that range. Within that first minute, you want to have them hooked. Okay. Now, I didn't include a specific section on script. I feel like this is kind of the same thing. This part is kind of the same thing because writing a good script is writing, it's almost the same as making an engaging video. Because if you have a good script, all you have to do is have even, a decent amount of editing skills and you can make a video that performs well. But we will talk a little deeper about how to write a good hook. But let's look at some examples of hooks. I saved some examples so we can take a look at some hooks. We're just going to watch them real quick. Might be kind of boring for you if you're not into this, but I promise you, regardless of the niche you want to go into, this will be relevant and helpful. So just kind of stick with me here. Let's go ahead and watch this hook, see what it's all about.
Is it possible to survive 72 hours without dying in the Project Zomboid Mall? This is normally what the mall looks like. Zombies everywhere, no places to run to or hide in, and there was a bit of a problem. Other than seeing it on YouTube, I've never been inside the mall. I just had to learn the layout and come up with a plan while doing the runs. So with a lot to learn and figure out, let's get started.
Okay, that hook only lasted 21 seconds. You don't want to artificially expand the hook. If you can get your point across, do it in as little amount of time as possible. But let's go ahead and break this down. I'm going to mute this here. But you can see, can I survive 3 days in the Project Zomboid Mall? That's the title. He immediately addresses the title. Is it possible to survive 72 hours? Lots of clever things going on here. 72 hours sounds more fancy than 3 days, right? 3 days is 3 days. 72 hours is 72 hours, right? So he immediately addresses the title. So without dying, the Project Zomboid Mall. And this is just good storytelling. You're immediately, your mind is going, oh, how's he going to do it? That looks really hard. I really want to see how he fights off all these zombies, right? And so he says, this is what the mall looks like, right? He shows you a shot. Zombies everywhere, no places to run to or hide in. Okay. He's raising the stakes. He's introducing the problem and raising the stakes through the roof, right? And there was a bit of a problem. Okay. So already, we know that there are a lot of zombies. There's nowhere to run or hide. Now he's going to stack even more on top of that for him to overcome, right? Other than seeing it on YouTube, I've never been inside the mall. Okay. There's more. So you're realizing that you're going into this completely blind with him. He's never been inside the mall. So that's another element of, oh, how's he going to learn the mall? What strategy is he going to use? What's going to happen as he tries to learn it, right? Learn the layout and come up with a plan while doing the runs. So with a lot to learn and figure out, let's get started. Okay. Such a great hook, right? So he introduces all kinds of things that immediately make you curious. So he's going to have to do multiple runs and figure out a way to do this, right? And I want to see what those runs are. I'm curious. I've never played Project Zomboid. When this video showed up in my feed, I watched the entire thing. Because again, going back to this thumbnail, how do we look at it here? Yeah, going back to this thumbnail, this has such broad appeal. It's not even funny. Like literally anyone who is remotely interested in zombie content could find this interesting. So just a freaking masterwork all around. So, and then he says, let's get started, right? So he set up and he transitioned in the rest of the video very nicely. So we'll talk about that more later, but right now we're just looking at the hook. So we'll talk about the rest of the video more later, but right now we're just kind of looking at the hook. Next, we're going to look at most broken metas in Call of Duty history. Okay, another video that I showed as an example earlier. I'm going to full screen this.
As one of the longest running franchises in gaming history, it's no surprise the Call of Duty meta has been broken a fair few times, whether it's overpowered weapons or straight up broken mechanics.
Look at this! Wow! This game sucks!
But what happens when top level pro players are given the same opportunity to abuse the game? Today we're going to talk about the 7 most broken metas in pro Call of Duty history.
So that's that hook. Very nicely done. Lots of clever things going on here that I'm going to talk about later in this section, in the retention section. So one thing that you want to do is you don't want to interrupt, or you want to keep a good visual flow throughout the video. So you want to keep the viewer's eye in the same place. You don't want to have, you know, here's the Call of Duty logo centered and then have something pop up in the top right that I'm supposed to look at, right? And he does a good job here, right? The logo is centered through all of them. And then a clip slides in where there's action happening in the center. So there's great visual continuity here. And then, you know, obviously he's expanding on the title to extend the video. Obviously, anyone has to do that. In some cases, it can seem lame, like you're just artificially stretching the video, but you are watching these videos to be entertained. And if somebody just went through and talked about the rote facts of everything with no artistic interpretation or extra filler information, it would be super boring, right? And then he adds a funny clip here. Here to the video that again expands on it further, and there's so much nostalgia happening, right? You have all the Call of Duty logos, you have Call of Duty World War II or whatever, right? You have Black Ops 3, and I mean this map is like iconic Black Ops 3. I bet you he picked this this clip on purpose for this map. So lots of good things going on here to get you hooked. And then yep, he poses the question, the problem. What happens when top level pro players are given the same opportunity to abuse the game today? Okay, yes, the same opportunity to abuse the game. So then another epic retention hack where you have the silhouette of things and you have question marks over them. So you have to watch the video to see A, what they are, and B, where he's going to rank them. And those are two things that just make people super curious and help so much with retention. So I know I've been focusing on gaming a lot here, so I want to do another one that's some IRL content.
If you tell me to go run...
This video is Last Man Standing Ultra Marathon, the race with only one finisher.
If you tell me to go run 100 miles, I will plan and strategize how to run and complete 100 miles. But if you tell me just go run as far as possible while we restrict how far you can go every hour, there is an unknown to that. It intimidated me, to be honest. That's what this race does to the participants. And after doing a race that was an out and back like Leadville, and then doing Rocky Raccoon, which is 100 miles, I wanted to experience something new and different, unique and exciting. And that's where the concept of Last Man Standing kind of just appeared. Last Man Standing is a backyard ultra in Pineland Farms, Maine. This is a 4.2 mile loop that restarts every hour on the hour until one person is left. There is one winner and everyone else is a DNF. Did not finish.
All right, so the hook goes on for a bit longer and there's lots of good stuff in there, but I want to break this down again. One thing you'll notice immediately is that it's slower paced than the gaming videos we watch, and there's a reason for that. You can get away with having slower pacing with stuff like this it's supposed to be a film, right? It's an IRL film, and it's leaning more towards the artistic side of things. You know, yes, it's a good YouTube video, but it's also leaning towards the artistic side of things. And the cinematography in this video is absolutely gorgeous, but there's so much going on here that just is a beautiful hook. So you start with a very interesting opening shot, and then he introduces so many, there's so much subtle storytelling going on here. It's amazing. So you see this, he says, if you tell me to go run 100 miles, I'll plan how to strategize to run 100 miles. But if you tell me just go run as far as possible while we restrict how far you can go every hour, there's an unknown to that intimidated me. And that line, it's setting up for the rest of the video. It's such an excellent piece of storytelling and there's so many factors that play into it, because you're looking at this guy's, what the fuck? He's so ripped. He's so ripped. How is this guy intimidated by anything, bro? You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's that element going on. Like, holy cow, what intimidated this guy? And did it live up? Like, was this intimidating as he, predicted it would be? So there's that going on. Then he's adding another element of character development and intrigue to the video. He says, I want to experience something new and different and unique and exciting. And that's where the concept of last man standing kind of just appeared. So again, he's introducing another problem, something the hero is trying to solve. He wants to experience something new and unique and different, right? And that piques your interest. It makes you curious. And then he does an excellent job of breaking things down for a mass audience, right? So it would be totally different. Less experienced people would go, and that's where the concept of last man standing kind of just appeared. They'd stop there, they'd go to the rest of the video, right? And I've seen this happen all the time. But what he does instead is his last man standing is backyard ultra in Pineland Farms, Maine. That is a 4.2 mile loop that restarts every hour on the hour until one person remains. There you go. That helps with mass appeal. Now, if you aren't interested, again, this showed up in my feed, and I am like, okay, I'm in decent shape. I go to the gym. I have below average stamina probably. I have never once been interested in running a marathon or an ultra marathon. And this popped up in my feed, and I watched the entire thing, and it was so interesting to me because, again, it's marketing and storytelling. He got me to care about something I otherwise wouldn't care about, and he broke down, all throughout the race, he broke down what the last man standing ultramarathon actually meant and what the implications of it are. And, the intro to the video does the same thing. Instead of just saying the last man standing is a really hard ultramarathon, it's brutal, it's punishing, it's whatever, he took you through the emotional side of it, right? Where it's like, oh, you start to think about it, you're like, oh yeah, that is hard. Like if I know there's an end, then I know what to expect. But if it just keeps going, I don't know what to plan for, right? And so he's not just saying this is hard, it's an ultramarathon. He's saying what that means to him and why you should care. And then he gives context. It's an ultramarathon on Pineland Farms so that you know, and there's a lot more here until the logo actually goes. And a lot of it is just, artistic filler with music. But damn, is it a good hook? Okay, take notes. If you want to get good at hooks, just watch videos that pop up in your feed and figure out why you give a shit after the first minute. Man, I love talking about this stuff. Gets me fired up. So, all right, back to the slideshow. So we covered the hook. We showed some examples. Now we're going to go into the video, okay? The video itself. So you're going to repeat the hero's journey multiple times. Or, this isn't always the case. In the case of that ultramarathon video, it was really only once. Like he started the race feeling great, and then it was very, very good storytelling because as, late at night when night kind of fell, the video starts out during the day. He's super upbeat. He's like, yeah, I'm feeling great. I'm setting a great pace. And then night starts to fall and the mood changes and it starts to get a little harder, right? And so it goes from a high to, oh no, the hero's in trouble, till it resolves. So repeat the hero's journey multiple times or just once. Just make sure that, your video is serving the story. You don't have random fluff in there that doesn't really serve the story. Explain and give context for things that are hard to understand at a glance. So that's exactly what's going on in this video. And again, it's so funny. I talked about this. Hollywood has known this for decades. That's why, all these trash documentaries that aired on Discovery Channel and all that crap, that's why people watch them like crazy. That's why media channels were so popular, is because they understood that it's all about the story. It's all about the story. And this is exactly what they do over and over on the History Channel is somehow they make you care about this random obscure thing by the way that they intersperse interviews and B-roll and, they're talking over things to tell you what these things imply. And that helps keep you engaged. Cut out fluff. Audio is hugely important. Sound effects and proper audio leveling. We'll talk about that later in the video editing section, but just keep that in mind. This is a very neglected part of video. That I see people neglecting all the time is audio. Audio helps immerse you in the video and really makes you want to keep watching it, okay? Make the video easy on the viewer's eye. We talked about that, briefly. We talked about that earlier, a little bit, but essentially you want the video to have good visual continuity. You don't want to be stressed out trying to figure out where the focal point of each shot is. If you can, you want to try to keep the key elements in the same spot of the screen, right? Foreshadow and tease what's to come later. Another amazing technique. There was already so much foreshadowing going on at the beginning, and there was more elements of foreshadowing that happened after that if you watch the rest of the video. So then also save the best for last, right? So one mistake I used to make is I would resolve the problem like halfway through the video, and then I'd have like 2 or 3 minutes of other shit happening afterwards, that just kills your average view duration and your retention, because people are there for the payoff. They want the resolution. They want that satisfaction. And if you show it too early, you kind of failed. Your video is going to flop, right? So more examples. So now we're going to look at examples of filler content that's done well, right? So I'm going to click on this. So you kind of have to, I'm going to go back into the hook a little bit just to give you some context, because you kind of have to know this video is so well done, okay?
For experienced players alike. However,
so he's saying Verrucht was challenging, Verrucht high rounds were challenging for new and experienced players alike.
There have been a multitude of those who were crazy enough to do high rounds on this map, and before taking a look at the history of these
So he says there have been players who were crazy enough to attempt high rounds.
records, I think it's important that we establish how high rounds work on this map. World at War.
And again, this is how you get your video to 10 minutes. This is how you keep people engaged who don't care about high rounds, okay? So when I was watching this video, if he just cut from here
I think it's
to the people who set the high rounds records, the video would have a completely different feel and I would care way less. Whereas he goes in here, and he explains high rounds, why they're so hard, why they're so relevant, and a little bit of the history of Call of Duty Zombies high rounds. And it's a very interesting segment that helps give you more context and helps you understand why you should care more about the high rounds. And again, it's helping build that mass appeal. You don't have to be interested and have a bunch of knowledge of zombies to enjoy this video, because he provides you with a lot of context and he helps you understand why you should care. So he has a section high rounds explained, right? Then high round history. And then basically it continues through the video until you have the world record high rounds on this map that he covers at the end. And it's a repeat of the hero's journey multiple times, right? He details each record setter, the strategy they used, and the round they got to, why they failed, all that stuff. And then he teases the next person to come in and break the record. And it's this constant, the hero does well and then they fail because they lose the round. And then who's going to beat the record next, right? It's this constant question of how far are they going to go? How much are they going to one up each other? And it's just good storytelling.
The same cannot be said about a runner known as Dog Chakaloo.
And again, just great story, just great script writing, right? Because he says
playthrough was a legitimate feat, using a combination of the flamethrower and electric trap to deal with the zombies. However, the same cannot be said about a runner known as Dog Chakaloo. Almost 5 years after this initial record by Nolwenn, Dog Chakaloo uploads his run to YouTube, absolutely annihilating Nolwenn's record with a round of 481 thought to be.
And yeah, so he essentially repeats that format throughout the video, and it's just an excellent use of the hero's journey, right? Success, failure, success, failure, success, failure. And in a lot of ways, the theme of the video is kind of focused on that, chasing the mythical high round. How far are they going to go? How far are they going to get, right? So very cool. Move on to the next example. Example 2, how to 100% Minecraft.
Minecraft is a sandbox game, meaning that you're supposed to be able to do anything with the tools it gives you. But what about doing everything? And when I say everything, I mean playing Minecraft until there's absolutely nothing new you can do. I'm obviously not going to be doing everything myself, you'll see why later. So I created Proto Steve. He's what the perfect player could be if they had infinite time and never wanted to do anything but play Minecraft forever. The math in this video gets absolutely insane, so I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe. Starting off first.
So yeah, there's a reason that other people are famous and I'm not, because holy hell, the skill to craft a hook like that is just wild. It's just wild. Okay, the editing is amazing. Obviously, there's a lot of sound effects which play a big part into it, and you'll notice Minecraft is such a saturated niche. The bar for editing is so high, but lots of sound effects. Like I talked about, sound effects help retention. I'm not going to dig into the hook too much, but there's a lot of retention, and then there's a lot of storytelling going on too, because the title says how to 100% Minecraft, but you think that means getting every achievement, but the thumbnail says true 100%, and he's mining the last stone block in a sea of bedrock. And you're like, oh, what does he mean true 100%? And then throughout the video, essentially what he does is he goes through different criteria of what would be considered 100%ing Minecraft, right? So literally within the first minute of the video, he talks about how long it would take to get every achievement, which is like the first 100%. And then he talks about how to get every item. And then task number 8, maximum XP level, right? So he keeps going through and like subverting your expectations of what it looks like to 100% Minecraft, but the video is just going to get progressively more extreme as it goes along, right? So 4 minutes in the video, you're already at like 24,000 years. Then task number 9, visit every chunk. This video is so genius, dude. I wish I had ideas this good. Holy cow. But you get the picture, right? The video keeps getting more and more extreme, and there's always that question of what is everything? How's he going to complete everything? And you have to see it through to figure it out, right? It's such a well-crafted video. Then obviously the editing is out of this world, all that stuff. So I hope that makes sense. I hope you're starting to see some patterns here. Let's move on to Part 7, how to make more money with less views, offsite monetization. So now we're going to get into the practical stuff of offsite monetization. So how to come up, like what you should do and the platforms you can use to monetize off platform. So for starters, why is this necessary? I've already talked about it a little bit, but we'll talk about it some more. So the brutal reality of AdSense is that it's not a business. If you're relying on AdSense, it's just wage slavery. If you stop making videos, you lose money. And you know, the amount of money you make is directly tied to the amount of hours you work. Also, it can fluctuate. We've talked about this throughout the video, so you kind of get the picture by now. The problem with YouTube, no real direct access to your audience. YouTube has your audience's information. Income does not scale. And what I mean by scaling income is you can work the same amount of hours and make way more money than you were making before. That's what a business is. That's what a business can do, but YouTube AdSense does not scale. All of your income is subject to YouTube's policies, so if they change or demonetize you, you're screwed. We see this happen all the time. It's not really business. I've already talked about that. You're fighting for table scraps. I already talked about that as well. Offsite monetization is the solution, so you have higher effective RPMs. Like I said, when I did Dota 2 coaching, right? I knew that if I got 20,000 views on one video, I'd get about 5 to 10 coaching students, which would result in anywhere from a few $100 to $1,000 of revenue for me, which is equivalent to getting anywhere from $10 to $50 or something like that, just rough math, RPMs. Because I knew that if I got 20,000 views, this many people would buy my product offsite, and that is coaching. And so you get way higher effective RPMs. You have more stable income source, especially if you're selling a product that can be marketed elsewhere. So the RPMs don't change. You know, if I get this many people to my site, the conversion rate is this much, I'll get this many sales. And so you have a much more stable income source. It scales better. It's closer to a business. You communicate directly with your audience. So if you monetize offsite, you can communicate directly with them and you can give them more value. You can get to know them better, all that good stuff. You can market to them directly. And then you have your audience's information if you offsite monetize. So let's talk about how to come up with a product or service. So how do you figure out what you're going to sell off platform? Okay. So all YouTube channels who want to make money should start with some sort of product or service or have a roadmap to implement one. And to come up with a product or service, you want to think about what would your audience benefit from? What problem does your audience have that you could solve? And you want to link to your product/service in the description of every video, plug it in videos at appropriate times. So again, this is just essentially at this point, it's a business training video. You want to focus on what can my audience benefit from? What problems of theirs can I solve, right? You want to think about them and you want to talk about your product or service in language that's appealing to them. So you have business, which solves a problem, and you have marketing, which is how you talk about that business to get people to buy. Now, in terms of platforms you can use to monetize, depending on what you do, I'm not going to go into super detail here. I am going to go into detail about one particular one. But so for platforms, you have Shopify for physical products, like t-shirts, merchandise, other physical things. You have School for coaching/instructional products, and I will dive into that in a second. And then you have Patreon for digital perks like bonus content, early access, etc. So these are the platforms I would recommend you start with. If you really, really make it big, you can get into stuff that's a lot deeper and more complicated. If you use one of these platforms, right off the bat, it will put yourself in a better spot than most YouTubers. Again, this all relies on making good content in the first place. So your product has to be good, but so does the content you're making to drive traffic to your product, right? So I'm going to talk about School really quick and why it's so amazing. It's starting to blow up among YouTubers as a platform because it's just freaking awesome. So this is what School looks like when you're discovering a community. Here's what a community looks like on the inside. It is the perfect platform for instructional content or group coaching, any of that kind of thing. So in like the week or so that I did this for Dota, I had 8 members, which 8 regular paying members is a huge deal for a small YouTuber. And I had barely gotten started. If I stuck with it, you know, it would be crazy. I quit for personal reasons because I thought the game was destroying my life and I was addicted and all that stuff, but that's another story for another time. But you can make posts, you can attach images to them. The reason this is so amazing is because normally, if you want to sell a course online, you have to have a platform for hosting the course. You have to have a platform for your community, which usually ended up being Facebook groups. because people who are in a cohort, in a coaching group, they need to be able to communicate with you and other people that they're working through. Like that's a necessary selling point of any coaching or learning product. And then, let's see, a place to host the courses, community. Yeah. And then an email management system. So, you know, you can spend gobs of money on those three, on getting those three set up. I know we did when we started our company. But school for $99 a month, you get this community that does everything well enough to make a huge business. There are people who make huge businesses on school. I know YouTubers who are making good money off of school. And you have the community. So that solves the Facebook group kind of functionality of you have your community, you have your classroom, and this is where you put your courses, right? And it's not super fleshed out, but it works. It's enough and you can easily provide value to people and make good money doing this. You have a calendar for upcoming events. It's just a perfect way to monetize an audience, get them to engage more. And you can see your members, you have your leaderboard. The other cool thing is that you have essentially a built-in landing page. That's the other thing that you would need, is sometimes your learning management system wouldn't have a landing page builder. And you need a landing page that kind of advertises and markets your product and shows why it's so awesome. And so you'd have to buy all these pieces to just get started with the learning product. But School has one built in. So like this is what my landing page looked like, right? Rank up in game and in real life. And it had like a little sales pitch there. So you have a built-in landing page. And then the other cool thing is that when you make a post, you can send a message notifying the people who are in your group, and that will go to their phone, that will go to their email. And that's something you can't do on YouTube. You can't guarantee that your communication gets to those people. With School, you can. You don't need an email management system to at least get started, right? You can start to communicate with your audience without having to use an email management system and figure that out. So School is really revolutionary. And I think it's an amazing tool for YouTubers. So I highly, 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 highly recommend you check it out. There's a link in the description. If you sign up using that link, I will get a 40% kickback of all your subscription to School for life. So that would mean a lot to me. If you decide to do that, totally don't have to. Just want to throw that out there. So yeah, that is my brief overview of offsite monetization. But essentially, it's as simple as, using one of these platforms, coming up with a product or service that your audience would benefit from, and then making good YouTube videos to drive traffic to those places. And that's how you build a scaling business. The end goal is that most of your income comes from your business, not from AdSense. And that's what these platforms will let you do. And it's absolutely amazing. And it essentially becomes a numbers game because you realize, okay, I get this many views and this many people sign up for my thing. Eventually I will have a relatively stable income. It's just night and day different from relying totally on AdSense. Cause in my state, bro, I would have to get like literally over 10 million views a month for it to be even remotely worth it, because I get taxed like crazy because I'm self-employed. I don't have benefits because I'm self-employed. Those two things alone just destroy your profit margin. Like I have to pay for those things. I'm married. If I want to start a family, I have to buy my own healthcare, which will be really expensive. And that's the thing, is it's just, you got to make good money off platform. Otherwise, YouTube is a cruel mistress. So definitely implement this into your overall strategy for your YouTube channel. So part 8, video editing. I've wasted so much time over the years. Okay. Video editing is one of the most time consuming aspects of being a YouTuber. Like you write the video, you get everything ready, you record it, you're like, yes. And then you have to sit down and edit it. And it takes hours, so many hours. So like last year, my brother and I recorded this video. We had like hours and hours of footage. And then in 1 week, I put in 38 hours with a full-time job editing this freaking video because I want to get it out before Christmas. And yeah, editing is a lot of work. And so the big thing with editing is that time is money and you want to save as much time as humanly possible. And so that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm going to talk about how to save time while editing. And so that's what I'm going to talk about in this section. I'm going to talk about how to save time while editing. And also I'm going to talk about the things that actually matter when it comes to being an editor. There's so much crap out there like special effects and blah, 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 blah. There's really only a few things that you need to worry about. Your number one job is to tell a story. I've stressed it over and over throughout this whole video, but the editing should serve the story. Okay. That is your number one job. You can make good videos if all you know how to do with the video editing software is make cuts. It's like the most basic thing you learn. Your number one job is to tell a story. Okay? Recommended software, any video editing software that has multi-track capabilities and lets you add text. Premiere and After Effects is the standard. It's easy to learn and amazingly powerful, but I hate Adobe. I've talked about this before in the video. I think they're a scummy company. DaVinci Resolve is very capable, way more stable, and can use almost everything for free. And if you need the paid features, it's a one-time fee. So the main thing with DaVinci Resolve is the free version doesn't have hardware acceleration when you're rendering, so your render times are not ideal. But if you do want to buy it, you get hardware acceleration, all the other paid features, and it's a one-time fee of $297 last time I checked, which is, I mean, I've paid Adobe thousands of dollars to use their software. And the amount of late nights I spent where I was done with a project, done with a client project, something like that, and all I had to do was render it and upload it. And I literally had to sit there for 3 hours while Adobe crashed over and over on render or got stuck 12% through or whatever. It's awful. You will never know rage like it being fucking 3 a.m. You've just worked 15 hours. You're done with your video. All you have to do is render it. And your stupid, shitty video editing software crashes over and over again. Okay, sorry, rant over. But DaVinci Resolve, I've been enjoying it so much. It's so stable. I've had it crash like a couple times, and I know why. It was me being kind of stupid, right? Like, it's so much more stable in my experience. And I'll include recommended tutorials for these programs in the description. I'm not here to show you, step by step, here's how to use these. I'm here to set you on the right path and show you the right direction to go in so that you don't waste time learning things you don't need to learn. So yeah, the goal is to save as much time as possible. To do that, tip number 1, we're going to templatize everything. So you want to use your software to create animation presets for everything. So like in the videos we showed previously where the text would pop up or the image would slide in or the video would slide in or whatever, all of those things can be saved as presets. And it is a huge, huge, huge time saver when things are saved as presets, okay? If you don't understand what that means, that's fine. Go figure out how to use the software you want to use, then figure out how to save animation presets, and it will change your life. And you just have to. You have to save time. It's so hugely important. Instead of going in and animating by hand every single time you want one graphic to zoom in on your screen, you can just drop a template on it and save countless hours, okay? The other thing is create project templates. So I have, like with Premiere, I had a template project where I would import all of the assets into that template project that I used for every single video. So like I would make one template for each channel. And inside that project, I would have all the assets that I used regularly. I would have the animations that I used regularly. And then I would save it as a new project for that specific video. So I would open the template comp, immediately save it as a new video. And that saves so much time because the project was laid out exactly as I needed it for that specific channel. So I could easily copy paste things. I could easily drag assets out of the project bin. It's just very nice. Create project templates. Make keyboard shortcuts for everything, okay? Hugely important. I have my philosophy with editing is that you want to set up your keyboard shortcuts so that you don't have to take your hand off the mouse to do anything as often as possible. You want to be able to edit through a video and you want to have your hand on the mouse and your hand on the keyboard as often as possible. So I think the default to split a clip in Premiere was Control K or something like that. And that was so awkward, right? I either have to reach over with one hand like this, or I have to take my hand off the mouse to hit Control K, and that's a giant waste of time. So instead what I did is like in DaVinci Resolve, my split shortcut is Control W, and I can do that one-handed while I have my other hand on the mouse, right? Super important. The other thing is when you get used to editing, edit at 2x speed when you're comfortable, okay? Premiere has this functionality. DaVinci Resolve has this functionality. I know other video editors do as well. I wouldn't be surprised if CapCut did. When you get used to editing, speed it up, edit at 2x speed. You'll save so much time. It's not even funny. Okay. Tip number 2, when it comes to story first, here's how you build a story with your footage. Okay. Number 1, you're going to watch through all your footage. So import it into your video editing software and then watch through all of it. Okay. You want to take notes either on your phone or in like a journal or something. I like writing hand notes down when I'm coming up with the story. And you want to form the story as you're going. Okay. So just watch through all your footage and take notes about things that would be cool. Like, okay, we could do this or that, or, kind of try to make a storyboard or a general flow of your video or something like that. You want to think about the mood and the feeling you're trying to accomplish throughout the video, okay? You want to add markers for key moments that you want to include. So while you're watching through your footage in your timeline, add a marker. Premiere, all the video editing softwares let you add a marker. Then after watching through all your footage, you can create a rough draft with the main story beats. So I do this every single time. I watch through all the footage and I create a rough draft first. So I plan the story on paper, and then I make a rough draft, and then I watch the rough draft through. And if the rough draft isn't entertaining, we have problems, because the rough draft needs to be at least somewhat entertaining before you start adding all these fancy animations and graphics on top of it and stuff like that. If I'm doing voiceover, I will also add voiceovers at this stage so that I get the main story beats of the video down in a rough draft. Now, in the case of faceless story channels where you aren't recording footage, you're just grabbing footage from online and inserting graphics and all that stuff, you want to record your script, put it into your timeline, and then still get a rough draft down. So download the footage, put the main beats in there. Don't worry about fancy animations or anything, but download the footage and the graphics you want. Just have them pop up on screen if you need to. And the video should flow well and be entertaining in the rough draft stage before you start spending all that time adding fancy animations and music and all that stuff. So create a rough draft. Then you want to reinterpret or rearrange things as needed. Lots of times I will flip the order of things. Like, let's say I'm recording a video, the actual order that it happened while recording happened one way. I will flip the way that it appears in the video if it makes more sense, or I will reinterpret things to add more context or make them more easy to understand for a mass audience, okay? And then watch through and trim down even more. So lots of times I'll get a rough draft. Like the Emerald Castle video, it was like 30 hours of footage, trimmed it down to about an hour, trimmed that down to 14 minutes, then trimmed that down to 10. Yeah, I'm really just trying to leave the stuff in there that's going to be engaging because you want that retention. I call this slaughtering my babies. There's so many times where you have a joke or something like that in there that really shouldn't belong. Like, it's going to kill your retention. As much as you might like that joke because it's an inside joke for you and your friends or something like that, if it doesn't make sense, if it's not easy to understand, if it doesn't add value to the video, just cut it. Okay, tip number 3, edit for immersion and retention. So you want to use sound effects and music if it's applicable. So you want to use the sound effects and the music to go along with the mood you're trying to convey at each stage of the video, right? So change up the music as the mood of the video changes. Use the music to build tension, right? Super important. Because as humans, before we even realize what's happening in the video we're watching, whatever we're hearing will influence the way we feel about it, right? So that's super important. And you can do this very well when you're transitioning moods in a video instead of just like having a hard cut. You can have a hard cut, but with music that builds into it, so you're expecting the scene to change, right? Things like that. Try not to leave the same track running for a prolonged period of time. So what I mean by this is trying to have the same song just running for a prolonged period of time without any modifications or playing with the stems or anything like that. Because if you're just watching a video and the same track is playing for like 4 minutes, you kind of go zombie mode because the mood isn't changing. You're like, okay, I kind of know what to expect from this section of the video, and you kind of tune out, and that can kill retention. Include a good variety of visuals on screen throughout the video, and then ensure that your video has good audio and visual continuity. So we talked about that before, right? Make sure that you're not jerking their eye all over the screen and it's not jarring to watch. Make sure that your video kind of flows, right? And then with that being said, also figure out what J cuts and L cuts are and use them. They're very powerful. I put a link in the description if you have no idea what they are. Just read that article to help you understand the different kinds of cuts in video editing and when you should use them. Okay. Tip number 4, stay organized. I'm actually going to pull up something here. So I made kind of a test folder to show you. This is how I organize my files whenever I'm editing a video. So I'll have a master folder for each channel, right? So this one's called test channel because it's a test. Inside I'll make 2 folders. I'll do assets, and inside the assets goes anything that I reuse multiple times. So anything that I reuse throughout videos, like over and over again, go inside of here. And then you could even break this down even more into graphics, music, etc. But I have this folder, and then I'll make a new folder for each video. Inside each video's folder, I'll make 4 folders, okay? A-roll. This is like your main shot. This is like your talking head. This is your gameplay recording. This is the main footage, if you will. I have B-roll. This is supplementary stuff that you add on top of it. So like, if you've ever seen people use replay mod in Minecraft, right? They'll be doing something, and then while they're doing it, it'll show it from a different angle. That's B-roll, right? And then graphics. So like images, GIFs, anything like that pops up in the video, I put it in the graphics folder. And then the thumbnail, I have another folder for thumbnail assets, and I save the thumbnail here when I'm done. So being organized will save you so much time just in terms of like navigating back to where you were going. It's incredible and super important. So make sure you're doing that. And then this assets folder, I'll just import it into every project that I make, and boom, all my assets for this channel are ready to go. All right, so tip number 5, get clean audio. So I talked about this earlier in the video. You really want audio that is clean and audible. So you want to get a good microphone. You want to turn the audio up very often, use a compressor. I'll talk about that in a second. You want to use a noise gate and a limiter. A noise gate is simply when the sound signal falls below this level, we're not recording anything. Your mic shuts off. A limiter is if it hits this decibel, we're not going to let it go beyond that. And that's what stops people from getting their ears destroyed while you're watching a YouTube video, right? So noise gate gets rid of background noise and stuff like that when you're not talking. And then a limiter stops audio from going too loud and hurting your audience's ears. And then you want to make sure your video hits correct loudness levels. Now, loudness is a lot different from volume. I didn't know this until recently. I've been doing this for 7 years. It's crazy. But if you're using Premiere, for example, you'll see your audio meter will go to like -5 decibels, whatever. That's actually not an accurate reading. Or I should say that's a misleading reading of how loud your video is. Because if you play it on other devices with different volumes and stuff like that, you want to make sure that you are hitting a target loudness level so that it plays well across all devices and settings. I hope that makes sense. Loudness is an objective measurement of how loud your audio is. I'm going to put links in the description for how to level for loudness in both DaVinci Resolve and Premiere Pro. Just watch those videos. They'll tell you exactly how to do it, what it means, what you're doing. They're total lifesavers. And audio is so important for retention, guys. It's so important. You have to have good audio. So now let's talk about that compressor. So this is a compressor visualized. I'll kind of break this down. A compressor has two main parts, the threshold and the ratio. So the threshold is where the compressor activates, and the ratio is how heavy the compression is. The higher the ratio, the more compression you're looking at. And essentially what this means is a 2-to-1 compression ratio is for every 2 decibels, your sound signal goes above the threshold. Only 1 is coming out. So you're damping that signal once it gets too loud, essentially. And so usually what I do, if I'm working with microphones that are really quiet and like the loud parts of their voice and the consonants are easy to understand, but the vowels are kind of muddy and they're quiet in some parts, I just crank the audio way up, set a high threshold for the compressors, and then turn the ratio way up. So now in audio, they call that lowering the dynamic range of the audio. So now the quiet parts of the audio are brought up to match the loud parts, and the loud parts are compressed so that they don't get too loud for the viewer's ears. Used to get quieter parts of audio to match louder parts for a clear, punchy sound. That's kind of what you're going for. In terms of actually getting sound effects and music and all that stuff, these are the only websites I've ever used. They're amazing. Epidemic Sound, incredible quality of music. One thing you don't realize unless you've tried it before is how hard it is to actually find music that fits the project you're working on, and Epidemic Sound has the best tools I've ever seen to accomplish this. On top of that, you can download stems of a track, so you can download just the drums or just the guitar, and you can play around with them in interesting ways inside your video. So Epidemic Sound is amazing. Motion Array, they also have some music. I use them more for their incredible library of sound effects and graphics. So you can find like light leaks and stock footage and grunge texture. I mean, just go there and search. You can find everything imaginable on Motion Array to spice up your videos and make them interesting. And the subscription fee is really, really reasonable. It's like $30 a month or something like that. So Motion Array is amazing. And then obviously YouTube. I download stuff from YouTube all the time, like sound effects or green screen or footage from other videos if I'm doing like a drama video, right? So YouTube is amazing. And the software I use is Photoshop. Although I ditched that recently, like I talked about, but I would say Photoshop, Canva, or GIMP. Photoshop, DaVinci Resolve Studio, 4K video downloader. This is the best video downloader for YouTube on the market. There's so many sketchy video downloaders out there that will give you fucking viruses or they get taken down, all that kind of stuff. This I've been using for years with no problems. It's absolutely amazing. Their customer support is out of this world. You just need this program. It's so amazing. And I'll have links to these in the description. Audacity. So sometimes I will record something not inside of my video editing software. Like sometimes I will do voiceover straight into DaVinci, but other times I record it outside and then import it later. And for that, I use Audacity. Works great. OBS for recording video. Incredible piece of software. And then ChatGPT. So I use ChatGPT as a brainstormer to help me brainstorm ideas. Just play around with it, ask it questions. You could even ask it, hey, these are my skills and interests. Can you come up with niches that I could do or YouTube strategies, whatever. Just, they're not going to be perfect. Don't just take them out of the box, but it helps you brainstorm so much. Like it helps you get past that fear of or creative block or fear of the blank page, so to speak. Like sometimes I'll say, okay, I'm writing this video. Here's what I know about the topic. Here's my goal. Can you write a 2,000 word script for me? And it'll write one out. And then I edit it. And oftentimes it's kind of garbage, but it helps jog my brain and helps put me in the right direction and just saves me so much time. So the other website I would use if you're writing scripts is speechinminutes.com. And so you can see what the word count of your script is, plug it into this, and it'll tell you, depending on your words per minute, how long your video is going to be. And this is really helpful, especially because you're trying to hit 10, 12, 15 minute video, right? So super cool, super cool. And then obviously I have a bunch of these resources in the description. So don't worry about going and finding them right now or whatever. I'm going to provide so much stuff in the description. It's going to be awesome. So part 9, YouTube Shorts. So Shorts use all the same concepts that we've talked about so far. The big question is, should you even do YouTube Shorts? And I'll talk about that later. First, let's just talk about how to make a good YouTube short. So how to make good shorts, you want to make them 1 minute. So make them the maximum duration because again, YouTube is trying to keep viewers on the platform as long as possible. You want to aim for 90% plus average view duration. This is like the common factor among most viral shorts that I see. You want to aim for 75% plus VVSA. This stands for view versus swiped away. So out of the people that saw your short, what percentage viewed instead of swiped away? So it'll give you a ratio like 75-25. And obviously the higher the better. I think to go into viral territory though, you need to look at anywhere from 75 to 90 VVSA. Pretty crazy. So you want to hook the viewer in 2 seconds. So we talked about hooks for long form content being 1 minute long. You have like 2 seconds with shorts. And to do this, you need to pose a problem or make the viewer curious. And again, one big thing, if you want to get good at shorts, just watch shorts and pay really active attention to what you're thinking and feeling as the short is playing. And then don't solve the problem until the final seconds. So this is a problem, or this is a mistake I made with shorts and TikToks in the past, is that I would show the payoff of the video too early and then people had no reason to continue watching, so they just swipe, and then that would kill my metrics. So you'll see it all the time. Minecraft shorts channels are really good at this. They save the payoff until the very end. And then use the related video feature extensively. I would put an asterisk next to this. If you want to try to get short form viewers to your long form content, use the related video feature. You just go into edit video in your YouTube studio and select the related video. And basically when you're watching the short, it'll link that video on your short so you can kind of transfer short form viewers into long form viewers. There's some problems with that though that we will talk about in a second. So take that with a grain of salt. So make shorts that appear organic to the platform. All this means is don't post like horizontal footage because shorts is a vertical format. You're trying to make stuff that looks native to the platform, okay? The problem with YouTube Shorts. Short subscribers will destroy your long form content. This is pretty unanimously agreed upon. Again, I want to dive into the why. The why is that usually the type of person that will watch your shorts is not the same type of person that will watch your long form content. And that may seem surprising, but there's so many people that just engage with shorts casually. And I've heard this all the time. The people that watch shorts usually have no interest in that channel's long form content. And what happens is if you get a bunch of shorts subscribers, you'll publish a video, it'll notify your subscribers, and because they have no interest in your video, they won't watch it. It'll kill the metrics out the gate, and YouTube will say, okay, this must not be a good video. I haven't seen people experiment with this, and so I am curious about this. I would say if you do want shorts to be a significant part of the strategy for your long form content, I would turn off the notify subscribers option when you post a long form video. Just let the algorithm do the work. If you post a good long form video, it'll find its audience regardless. I haven't heard of anybody experimenting around with that, so that could be something to play around with. But yeah, when you upload a video, you have the option to not notify existing subscribers, and that might help not destroy the metrics out the gate. Just a thought. But the other problem is that it makes no money, right? Like, I saw a guy, 56 million views on a YouTube short. He made $1,200, right? $1,200 is $1,200, but that's 56 million views. And also getting that many views on a short is not easy. Okay. So again, to make a livable wage, you would have to be such a god at shorts that you were getting like 500 million views or like 250 million views every single month on shorts, which is just unthinkable unless you're an absolute guru. So audience does not engage with you at all, like I talked about. So that makes it harder it just plays into the short-term gain bullshit that I hate, because shorts viewers are not going to be engaged with you at all. So they're unlikely to watch your long form content, and they're unlikely to go to your offsite platform. And that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to get people offsite so that we can monetize long term and actually make sustainable income. And then like we talked about, same audience doesn't usually watch same type of short and long form content. So even if somebody is interested in something, I've heard this all the time of people who watch one type of short form content, but they never watch long form content of that same topic. It's very interesting. The best ways to use shorts are shorts only channels, as a live streamer, or on a second channel linking back to your main. I think shorts are a great strategy if you just link back to your main, because the people who actually care and will engage with you will click on your stuff. Shorts only channels, there are strategies to do that. I'm not going to cover that here, but if you want to do shorts only, go for it. I would not mix short and long form. And then also as a live streamer, I think this is so good. Like if you're banking on your primary income stream being live streaming on Twitch and YouTube, and, you know, using that as a funnel to sell the products and stuff like that, and you want to get money from donations and all that stuff, I think shorts are incredible. I know somebody named It's Bubble, and she did that. She posted shorts. She streamed single player games, and she posted shorts, and most of her shorts get anywhere from 500,000 to 3 million views. And she grew her Twitch channel a lot that way. That's a very, very good strategy for streamers, especially because, you know, let's say you get 50,000 subscribers from shorts. Even if only 50 of those people show up to your live stream and become regulars, that's pretty good. Like, having 50 regulars on a live stream is crazy. So yeah, that's the difference there, is because you're not so worried about getting such good numbers on your long form content. You just want some people, you know, you post shorts, they get a lot of views. Some people show up to your live stream, some leave, some become regulars, and you just slowly grow that way. So they have their place. Best way to get good at shorts, like I said, is to watch shorts and think about what you're thinking while you watch them. Part 10, tags and descriptions. Real talk, tags and description only matters for search channels. I used to cling to, oh no, it's super important. And then I just keep seeing viral content where the description is just fucking useless. Like, there's literally nothing there. There's no links. There's no keywords. I mean, maybe there's the keywords, like maybe they repeated the title, but other than that, you know, what's gonna carry you is getting your videos to show up in suggested. So that being said, I still do description and tags because I think it does make somewhat of a difference. I can't say that for sure. I know it matters for search channels. So if you're doing like an RPG guides, or you're relying on people to search like how to find X or how to fix this thing on my car or whatever, then tags and description matter a lot. If that's not you, don't worry about it too much. That being said, here are the best practices for it. So repeat the title or keywords from your title in the first line of your description, or second if you're linking to a product. So have like your product and then repeat the title or keywords from your title right below that. Or if you're not linking to a product, just repeat the title as the first line of your description. You want to use as many relevant keywords as possible in your description, and then include links to your other videos, especially your most popular ones, in the description. So an example, I would do stuff like this. You know, in this video, we have another Dota 2 guide from Outlaw Dota. Today, we're going to be talking about Morphling, one of the game's hardest and most iconic carry heroes. So these are all like keywords, like carry heroes, Morphling, Dota 2, guide. Morphling is the perfect hero to climbing to Immortal. That's another keyword that I knew. How to play Morphling, right? That's a search phrase. That's why I put together this Dota 2 Morphling guide, right? Guide. So you kind of get the gist. Tags, best practices, use word by word tags and phrase tags. For example, if you're saying how to paint with acrylics, right? Do how to paint with acrylics as their own individual tags. The reason for that is because sometimes people will search for phrases in weird orders. And so you want to hit the individual words, not necessarily the whole phrase. So pair it with word by word tags and phrase tags. And then you want to repeat words from the title and the description in the tags. So you're essentially trying to have continuity between your description, your title, and your tags. YouTube likes that for SEO purposes. And again, the description of the tags only matters for search. So Google searches and YouTube search, but that's kind of the best practices there. All right, part 11, case studies. So I'm going to briefly talk about some channels, just a couple of channels that I've worked on, what went wrong, what I would do better next time. All right, so let's do some case studies. So this was like my little baby channel when I wanted to do YouTube for myself as a personality. I had success on YouTube before, but it was like kind of faceless content. I'll talk about it in a little bit. But yeah, let me just kind of go over what I did with this channel and what worked and what I feel like I would do differently. So I filter this by views. My most viewed was the how to solve the entire Mr. Beast riddle step by step. So like we talked about earlier in the video, I did not do a good job of transitioning my audience from that content to another kind of content. This is also kind of the risk with social jacking, is that I don't want to make Mr. Beast videos forever, right? So like it's tricky to figure out how to transition that audience. But this was a success. And then the most successful period that I had, it's weird that my revenue is not showing up actually, because I was monetized. I must have got demonetized at some point. But anyway, I transitioned to making Tiny Tina's Wonderlands content, as you can see here. So that was like what I did before I stopped. And I made decent money for the month or so that I did it. You can see all these videos have pretty good amount of views. And I was just leaning into the search tactic. It's basically all that there is. This video, or this whole channel, is kind of a crapshoot, honestly. Like it's very all over the place. The main thing I would have done differently with this channel is after this video went viral, I would have taken a completely different strategy to transferring my audience over to something else. I would have done something that was related to riddles or something else like that audience would have found interesting, that liked this video. And then, yeah, this is just one of my cheap channels that I was trying to, essentially hit it big on, but didn't really know what I was doing. And then the other big thing is I did lots of streams on this channel, especially Minecraft. I was streaming Minecraft for a long time. I was trying to do the thing where I stream Minecraft and then make shorts out of it. But at the end of the day, my stuff was just low quality, and that's okay. I learned a lot from this channel and I practiced. But I think the biggest problem with this channel, honestly, was just that my stuff wasn't good. Like it couldn't really compete. The script writing was lackluster. The storytelling was lackluster, just on and on and on. But still, I got, 9,000 subscribers. I built a nice little community around this channel. So that's pretty cool. All right, moving on to my baby. This one hurts. I already talked about it a little bit. Yeah, I've played Dota for 10 plus years. It was my dream for the longest time to go pro, and I got really good at the game. Nowhere near good enough to go pro, but I just started making videos one day, and they kind of blew up because I was really knowledgeable about the game, and then I did thousands of dollars of coaching just from a thing that I was doing on the side here and there. So $619 of revenue plus thousands of dollars of coaching. And when I started in 2022, I really wasn't taking it that seriously. When I came back to it this year is when I took it really seriously. And that's when things really started to take off. Like I made these advanced guides, like how to play Morphling. What I did is I poured my heart and soul into that video, made a super high quality video with extremely useful advanced tips. And then this video caught the algorithm, and then I immediately started live streaming constantly while promoting my Dota Club, which was $5 a month. You got access to replays of all my other coaching sessions. So super high value there. And within a week of posting this video and streaming every day, I had 1,000 people watching my stream. I had 5 members. I had 8 members plus 3 on YouTube, actually, because I started the YouTube subscriptions. I had many coaching sessions from that. So yeah, if I kept going, I could have made thousands of dollars per month easily without even doing anything too crazy on this channel. And I could have set myself up as a streamer. It hurts to talk about. It's been 2 months since I played my last match of Dota. I feel like I've been addicted to the game for a long time. I've tried to quit multiple times. It ruins my mood, on and on and on. And I just said, enough is enough. And I privated all my content, left my Discord, offered refunds to anyone who wanted it, and just left because I would just go through these cycles where if I was winning, I was on top of the world. If I was losing, I was absolutely miserable, and it was just destroying my mental health. I was addicted. Other areas of my life were suffering, and it's tough. It's tough. Even though I was addicted, like the game was still genuinely extremely fun. And I loved the community that I had while I was live streaming. Like being able to go live every day and have like 70 plus people that just hang out with you and chat about the game, and like they want your opinion and your advice and stuff like that and stuff is such a good feeling. And it was so fun. It was so fun. I know it was the right decision. It's hard. But anyway, your takeaway from that is this style of content is really effective. If you have high level content in a niche and you can, make some and get really detailed and really go and be above and beyond in the way that you explain things, then this works great. Monetize off platform, very successful. All right, so another channel that I did, it's called The American Nightmare. I got 5,300 subscribers, 179,000 views. I have so many channels because my brain is just so fucking ADHD. I didn't stick with this at all. I did really well with the limited amount of time that I had. Essentially, this is just faceless storytelling, and it was specifically about stock market corruption because it was something I was passionate about. This video, my first video that blew up 30,000 views, was pretty misleading. This video is actually great. The other ones were kind of rushed and a little misleading, so I'm not super proud of them. But again, this is an example of the faceless storytelling strategy working. If I stuck with this, I definitely could have grown this very, very far. But I'm so ADHD. Like I'll get excited. I'll make a video that takes tons of effort, lose interest in the topic, then move to something else. It's a very common theme. This is a channel I've been working on recently with my brother. And I feel like this has the most potential to go somewhere out of the channels that I've started. I've basically taken everything that I've learned and applied them to this channel. And for a fresh channel, we're growing every video, 1,700, 2,100, 3,000, 4,100. This is a channel I think that has a ton of potential. Unfortunately, it just takes so much time. YouTube is not my full-time job. My full-time job is the company that I started that pays way better than YouTube. So it's very hard, but that's this channel. It's just good old Minecraft content with super insane editing. So that's that. Yeah, on it. This is my company's YouTube channel. So done pretty well. And this is another great example of using YouTube for something else because ad revenue, this is nothing. We've gotten so many people to join our website and join our membership from YouTube that, I mean, I don't like sharing numbers too openly, so I'm not going to, but if you mathed it out, the RPMs are the effective RPMs. So the amount of money we've made from YouTube compared to the total number of views, the RPM is absolutely nuts, absolutely insane. And all this is it's the same thing. We just made really good videos with links to our website. And we also did live streams during COVID, painting live streams during COVID. And those blew up. So that was a big part of it. But again, this is an example of the power of niches, untapped niches, because prior to us, there was no good instruction for acrylic paints. So I partnered with a guy. He's an incredible acrylic artist. We have a whole team now, and we do acrylic painting instruction, and it's awesome. And there was such an untapped niche for good acrylic painting instruction that we just stepped into it, and it's done incredible. It's done incredibly well. It also goes to show, like, if you looked at this channel from the outside, you would have no idea that we're, a company that has a team and is a pretty successful company. You wouldn't know that from the outside. And I mean, relatively speaking, we're a tiny YouTube channel, 25,000 subs. Like what? Right? Like we're a tiny channel. So, it's very, very cool stuff. Very, very, very cool stuff. And that just goes to show how powerful YouTube can be if you combine it with other things. Granted, a lot of our business also came from paid advertising. So it's not like it all came from YouTube, but YouTube helped us a lot in the early days. So very, very cool. All right. So the big channel, this is when I first got into YouTube, and I started as an editor. And then the guy that I worked for first, he was like, hey, do you want to basically go in with me, edit videos on a new channel for, a percentage of the revenue? And I did. And it absolutely blew up. This video, we had 8.1 million views. This is the most viewed Apex Legends video up until the season 2 release trailer on YouTube. At one point we were making over 30,000 per month. And, but what went wrong? What went wrong? So many things went wrong. So for one, 5 years ago, yes, the meta was different, but I didn't have majority control of the channel, so I couldn't make all the decisions and stuff like that. I don't know if I was aware of this at the time, but we broke one of the golden rules, which is, you can see episode 1, episode 2, episode 4, and you can see the views just drop from episode to episode, almost without exception. And the reason for that is because, again, we did the episode thing. People just immediately get turned off by that episode 2. What we should have done is make every episode a self-contained thing and title the video around the most insane moment in the video, right? So like, this guy did this, or I didn't even know you could do this, or whatever. Make it so that each episode was its own self-contained thing. Those are the main things we could have done. We did get demonetized at some point for reusing content. So for one, we were one of the only clip channels in the niche that would actually ask people for permission to use their clips. And then also, we actually added editing to the videos. Like there's so many other garbage channels out there that just sequence the clips, boom, 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 boom. But I actually put a ton of effort into editing these and did so much editing. But what happens in this case is we got copyright striked by somebody else who claimed we were reusing our content, even though both of us were using the same clip that was posted on a public forum like Reddit or Twitch or something like that. And that kind of started to go downhill. And I think after that, YouTube changed their policies to say something about reusing content. I don't remember the exact specifics, but essentially we went from cash cow, top of the world, to nothing overnight. And it was a thing. So I took the money from this channel and I started the company that I'm still working for. I didn't invest much into it, to be fair. Like a lot of it came from my partner. A lot of the startup costs came from my partner, but like equipment and stuff like that, I helped pay for. That's just a handful of case studies of my personal case studies. There's a lot more, but the videos, I've been recording for over 3 hours. Hopefully I can trim it down to around 2. But yeah, thank you for watching my YouTube masterclass. I hope that's helpful. I hope you learned something. If you take these things and you run with them, I mean, you can go so far with this. If you take these things and really apply it, you can go to the moon. You can really make it on YouTube. Last thing I want to mention before we go, like I mentioned at the start of the video, I do have coaching spots available to work one-on-one with you to help take your YouTube channel to the next level. This is the results from one of my most recent students, and this could be you. We're just getting started with this channel. I'm really excited. Full disclaimer, I did help this one student for free because I wanted to see, like, does my stuff work? Is it applicable? It's an unbeatable price. You definitely won't find better one-on-one coaching for YouTube anywhere else. I can absolutely guarantee that. I know some prices some other people are charging, and it's crazy. So yeah, definitely fill out that form in the description. Thanks again for watching. I hope this helps, and best of luck to you on your YouTube channel. Peace.